Hello, 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 my friends. Welcome to the pre-webinar administrative details stuff. This is Dr. David checking in with you. It seems like it has been forever since I've had the opportunity to share and teach some cool stuff to some cool people. So a couple things. The webinar will start right at 4 p.m. Pacific time. If this is your first time with us, remember that we are simulcasting this from our Zoom channel to you, as well as to our brothers and sisters on our YouTube channel. So if you are joining us from YouTube, please keep in mind that there is a lag between when I speak and when it shows up in your feed. Your chats are in real time. So if you have a question, just keep asking. If it's relevant to where we're at in the conversation, I am happy to answer it. If it's not, or I miss it, because as things start to pick up, questions blow by faster than I can track. There's 3 ways to get your questions answered. A, keep posting. And if I see it and it's relevant to where we're at in the webinar and it won't distract us, I will answer it. If some of my veterans from Planet David, people have been using this material for any length of time, see the question and I haven't answered it, feel free to answer it if you have actual real-world practical experience doing it. And of course, when the replay of this video goes live on our YouTube channel, if you go to the comment section underneath the video and repost your question, I make a habit of going back multiple times throughout the course of a month when I do a webinar live event and physically answering the questions via text or chat. And in fact, if I know the answer, I will answer it. If I do not know the answer, I will point you in the direction of where I think would be the best place for you to go to get your questions answered. This is a free-form webinar, which means we have a very loose structure that comes in 3 parts. The first part will be foundations and goals. The second part will be upgrading your skills. Part 3 of the webinar will be circling back to part 1 to build on the foundations we laid, to give you really powerful, hardcore techniques that you can take out into the world and start using right away to get the life you want the way that you want it. I'll be repeating a lot of this when we actually log back onto the webinar, but it is my custom always to try and get on a few minutes before the actual content part begins and let people know that if you're used to a 90-minute webinar where the guy teases you about all the amazing things you could be doing and then says you can have it once you buy my stuff, that's not how this works. Our webinars tend to be very content heavy. They're focused on actionable content, things that you can take out right away and start using. There is an offer, as always, connected to the content that we're teaching you. They're derived from our systems, and we'll show you how to level up if that's something that you feel is in your best interest to do. But if you've budgeted the classic 90 minutes for this webinar, you may want to rethink that scheduling. Our webinars usually run anywhere from 120 to 280 minutes, close to 3 hours, sometimes a little longer, depending on how excited and enthusiastic our classes are. And while I'm on that note, and I'll say this again when I actually log on personally, this is a class that is very much, the skills that you get from it are based on the degree to which you actually participate in the drills that we're going to share with you. These things are not theoretical, they're proven. If you go out and you do these things the way we teach them to you, they will have an effect on the people. And in fact, the best part about our content is you don't got to believe any of it for it to work for you. You just got to have a fun, playful, curious attitude, a sincere desire to roll up your sleeves, do the drills and get some skills, and go out and play with it in the real world. And you'll rapidly discover that we have undersold or underhyped the content that you're learning. Anyway, it is 3:53 here in sunny California, where we're in the midst of a heat wave and I'm in a room with no air conditioning. So if you see me sweating, it's not because I'm nervous, it's because I'm actually melting in the California heat. So that being said, I will see you very, very shortly. Make sure that you have lots of caffeinated beverages, lots of oxytocin and dopamine-laden substances. Oh, I don't know, like chocolate or things of that nature. And of course, things to write on and write with. And I will talk to you very, very soon. I'm excited, and I hope you're as excited as I am to spend the next 2-3 hours together doing some really cool stuff with some really cool people. Talk to you soon. All right, you all, start your engines. 1 minute to showtime. Oh, less than 1 minute to showtime. Hello, 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 my friends. Welcome to Secrets of Human Influence. I am your host, the ever dangerous, ever delirious, and somewhat dehydrated Dr. David Snyder. Let me just start my recording really quick so we have a record of this. And there you have it, the official beginning of our webinar. Once again, welcome. This is Dr. David Snyder. Welcome to Secrets of Human Influence. And today we're going to discuss some of the most powerful conversational hypnotic techniques for persuading humans to like, love, and trust you. Anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, for any reason. You know, the longer that I'm in this field, and especially with the developments of the last 24 to 36 months, I have never been more convinced in my life that the secrets, that the skills and the techniques for understanding and influencing human behavior are in fact the most important survival skill that we can possess today. Yes, tech skills are good. How to use a computer is kind of up there too. But honestly, survival and to survive and thrive in a society of humans governed by the rule of law, and in some cases governed by the law of the jungle, the ability to get human beings to actually want to do what they want you to do, to like and love and trust you and connect with you, is really the skill that separates the true winners and the thrivers in our society from the people who barely get by. Okay, so I think that this is very important. If you're here, it's not an accident. But before we get into the actual content, it's my habit to kind of get on. Say, hey y'all, David, you have your winter vest and fall vest on. I'm not ready. This is California, in San Diego, where I barely have any season at all. So this is a summer vest just as much as a winter vest. And if you see me sweating, it's because the NLP Powerhouse is one of those California homes that didn't think it was appropriate to actually put central air in. So I have yet to get air conditioning units installed in the building. So if you see me sweating, it's not because I'm stressed out, it's because I'm literally melting as I talk to you. But you're worth it, damn it. And while I'm on the subject of damn it, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your next 2 to 3 hours. Okay? My intention is never to offend anyone, but sometimes the rules and the principles that I have to report can be very provocative. And provocation is actually something that we as self-actualizing human beings really want to pay attention to. What are the things that provoke us, that make us want to run away? You're going to find as you start to get more and more into the aspects of self-actualization, of clearing your crap and empowering yourself, that many times the fastest, most direct routes to becoming the best version of yourself lie in running towards the things that make you want to run away, that make you want to recoil. If that makes it, if it's counterintuitive, but that's kind of how it works. We're going to talk a little bit about what we call towards and away from, or animalistic consciousness versus self-actualizing consciousness. Poor body care makes me recoil. I see we have some of our veterans with us today. And while we're on the subject of veterans, how many people, let me pull up my chat, how many people by show of hands, or just type me in the chat, are you tuning in for first time? How many are first time viewers, first experiences with Planet David? All right, very cool. And tell me, type your names and where you're tuning in from. And those of you who are veterans of Planet David, who've been bebopping around the channel or the live events for 3, 6, 10 months, 10 years, type your names, where you're checking in, how long you've been in Planet David. And the reason that I ask that isn't just so I can get an accurate census of who's new and who isn't. It's because many times as we go through the content of today's webinar, you're going to have a question, right? And I love questions. Anybody who's ever watched my YouTube channel, much to their frustration many times, is I just take questions left and right and left and right. The problem is the more questions I take, the more squirrels I tend to chase, and sometimes the longer it takes to get to the actionable content that I had planned for you tonight. So one of the things that we do is if you have a question, I want your question to get answered. Now, sometimes the questions you have aren't directly relevant to the content of the webinar or the portion of the webinar where we're at. So here's 3 ways that you can get your questions answered within 24 hours or less, okay? And the first one is, A, keep typing your question in the chats, okay? We're streaming to our Zoom people as well as our YouTube family, and so there is a bit of a lag between when I see a question and I answer it through the video versus when I type it directly into the chat, okay? So keep typing the question, and if I do not see it, which is entirely possible because after a while the questions start flying by so fast I can't catch them. If my veterans see the question and you have a direct experience with that particular technique or have solved that problem using our technologies, I invite you to reach out to the people who asked the question and answer it for them. You expect me to tell you how awesome my stuff is, right? You know, nobody logs onto a webinar and expects the guy on the webinar to say, my stuff sucks, you should not buy it at all, right? But trust the people that are actually spent time to keep coming back because they keep finding solutions for the problems that they have. None of the stuff that I'm going to share with you in this webinar did I invent for you. I'll be very upfront with you. I invented it for me. There were things in my life there were problems in my life that I had to solve. There were things in my life I wanted, and I was continually frustrated in my ability to get them. And so the things that I'm going to share with you, I have proven over and over and over again for myself and my students. So, you know, now the final way that you can get your question answered is at the end of this webinar, there will be, YouTube will automatically render a copy of it. I have a separate copy that I'll put on my website, but there will be an immediate rough copy of this website or this webinar available immediately on YouTube. If we did not get your question answered during the actual webinar, if you go to the comment section of this video under the live section in our channel and you type your question in, I make it a practice after every webinar for every single day for the next month to monitor that web channel. I monitor it every day anyway, but specifically with webinars, I make it a practice to monitor those comments every single day and answer any questions that appear on that channel. So there are 3 ways to get your questions answered. That being said, is this in fact the right place for you to be today? First of all, like I said at the intro, this is not a 90-minute webinar. So if you came in, if you logged in expecting 90 minutes of tease, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, you're going to kind of be disappointed. However, if you came to get some solid gold, nuclear-powered techniques that you can start using right away, and you're prepared to roll up your sleeves, do the drills, and get the skills, you found the right place. So this webinar is for you if, well, actually, let me start off by just, so I'm going to go out on a limb here. Most of you know who I am. Is that true? Yes? Do I need to give you my pedigree? Okay. So for those of you who, again, because this is for the new people, really, let me go ahead and start with the all-important question. Who is Dr. David, and why should I care? So first of all, you should know I am in fact an actual doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. This is a copy of my diploma from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a practicing acupuncturist, hypnotherapist, and neurolinguistic programmer since 2005. I've had a clinic in Solana Beach with my partner and wife, Dr. Dawn Liu, where my specialty is specifically treating physiological illness that is caused by repressed emotion, right? And to do that, we use a multidisciplinary approach, which includes energy work, NLP, hypnotherapy, many forms of Qigong, and holographic memory resolution, and we've had an astounding success rate with our clients. So that's part of where we come from and why we're here. I've also authored well over 15 different products on various forms of human influence. This is a copy of my bio from globalgurus.org, and in 2020 I was named the #1 NLP trainer of the year by Global Gurus. I've been in the top 2 spots in the Global Gurus for NLP and hypnosis since about 2017. So I've been right up there with the great Bandler and everybody else by your votes, not mine. And what's even cooler, I think, is what you're seeing here is a letter from the Global Gurus organization. Now, this was actually this year, 2022. I'll read it to you really quick. because it's directly relevant to what you're going to be learning on this webinar. So, dear David, it is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by global peers and ranked as the #1 best program in the world for NLP. And NLP, of course, stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. We have attached a logo for you to add to your program marketing and recommend linking the logo to the image where your workshop and program appears. Well, that's there. So if you go here, you'll see that once again, these are all the people that the techniques you're going to be learning for beat in the running, based on my peers. This is not something that I put in for. I didn't even know this was a thing. So I'm also a lifelong martial artist. I have a 10th degree black belt in Okinawan Kempo. I have a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kun Tao, a 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo, 1st degree in Fankuru Jiu Jitsu. I'm also a certified instructor in Combat Sistema, Cinco Mano Eskrima, and Modern Arnis. And like I mentioned before, when I was talking about my clinical work, I have more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. And I'm currently in the process of getting even more. So I am a Reiki master teacher. I've been a Reiki master since before Reiki was cool. I am a certified advanced pranic healer and pranic psychotherapist, advanced DNA theta healing. I'm certified in the Bankston healing system and many forms of Qigong and Chinese energetic medicine. So you may be asking, so what? What do all these things have in common? Pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is actually the way you unlock the secrets of human behavior, the way you unlock the secrets of human thought, and how to influence people. Everything human beings do has a structure and a pattern to it. And once you understand and can recognize those patterns, you can start to use those patterns to cause people to think and act and behave and feel in very predictable ways. So what does pattern recognition have to do with human influence? Pretty much everything, guys and gals. So that being said, is this class for you? If you can, and now I'm going to ask, this is the questionnaire portion of our class. So if you can answer yes to any of the following questions, just type "that's for me" or "yes" in the chat, and we'll go from there. How many of you would like to be more attractive to the opposite sex and maybe even make them find you charming, fascinating, and irresistible? Yes? Type yes in the chat if that's something you want. How many of you would like to stop being afraid? How would you like to banish insecurity from your life and even radiate true confidence and assertiveness on demand? What if there were a way that you could literally flip a switch and emanate a sense of certainty into a room where people just sought you out because you seem to know what the hell you're doing? Would that be useful? How many of you, by show of hands or typing "that's for me," would like to make more money? Whether it's in your current job, starting a new business, getting a promotion, writing copy for your business that sucks people in and makes them want to do business with you. If that's something you want, then you're in the right place, because everything I'm about to share with you is directly relevant to that. But there's more. Why? Because we're talking about humans. We're talking about getting inside people's heads, understanding how they work, and pressing buttons so that they willingly, joyfully, happily do the things we want them to do. Is that worth knowing? Because for absolutely no charge tonight, you're going to learn the master keys to doing that. And then if you want more, I'll show you where to go. Is that fair? Cool. All right. So, all right. You guys ready to play? All right. Here's your first free gift. How many of you, by a show of hands in the chat, would like to be up to 30 to 31? Let's make it conservative. 28 to 31% better at everything. Okay, I'm going to give you the master key to doing it right now. All you've got to do is install and adopt a fun, easygoing, curious, playful, explorational attitude to everything you do. Now that particular principle, that particular statistic, comes from one of the most easygoing, happy-go-lucky, no big deal kind of job there is. It's called hostage negotiation. And yes, I was joking. Hostage negotiation. What the FBI researchers and behavioral analysis teams discovered was that when the hostage negotiator entered into the interaction with an easygoing, laid-back, explorational, almost playful energy, they were up to 31% more intelligent, 31% more adaptable, 31% more aware, 31% more charismatic. And what's even better, which is again something that I don't know that they expected this to happen, but it's what they discovered, was that the hostage negotiator's counterpart, the hostage taker, was up to 31% more compliant. Think about that for a moment. What if the people you met were 30% more agreeable to anything you wanted them to do? How would your life change? Okay? Chris Voss nailed a lot of this stuff. Now, again, I have tremendous respect for Chris. Most of this I've been teaching since 2006, 2005. Okay? So it's nice to see the confirmation from all these different sources. Okay? So here's where we're going to start today. So the first thing I want you to get is that one principle. What you need to do is everything I'm going to teach you, if you can embody, if you can take on a playful, curious, easygoing, explorational attitude and energy in your body, all of these techniques will be like they'll be on steroids anyway, but you'll be amazingly, you'll actually neutralize other people's defense mechanisms so that the stuff is even more effective for you. Does that make sense? One of the problems that people have when they try to influence is they get too invested in the process, and that seriousness shuts them off from their resources. You will find that the more you play and joke around with this material as you're interacting with people, the faster it goes in. But you don't got to believe me. That's the beautiful part. We've distilled the techniques that you're going to learn in this webinar and the systems that they come from down to core sets of mechanics. You don't need to believe it for it to work. You've just got to be willing to do it with the right attitude. And if you do, and even if you do it with the wrong attitude, they have a high percentage of working. Okay? But when you wrap everything that we're going to share with you in this playful energy, it's like kryptonite. It really, but again, don't believe me. Just test it and see how it goes. Okay? So, my personal promise. Could someone do that with a... Oh, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, for those of you who were wondering, the question in the chat was, could someone do that with a diagnosed narcissist? Let me tell you something. I just spent 5 days teaching the second version of Killer Influence, which is called Defense Against the Dark Arts, which is all about how to use the Killer Influence system to deal with con artists, narcissists, sociopaths, Machiavellians, any form of social or any type of influence predator you can name, and how to deal with them. Let me explain. I'll tease you a little bit. Narcissists are some of the most vulnerable to this technology if you understand it. Okay? Narcissists are extraordinarily predictable. They're extremely easy to manipulate. Most people who are usually under the influence of these narcissistic predatory type people are usually very high on the neuroticism scale, which means they have an overdeveloped sense of conscience, which is why they feel guilty when the sun goes down too early. Okay, again, there's some really good books that you can read that will explain this to you, but the bottom line is that these narcissistic predators always choose highly neurotic people as their victims. And the reason that these people are victims is because they're not willing to fight back, even if they know what to do. They don't have the will to influence. And so when we started training our classes on these defensive skills, the first thing we tell them is you got to train your will. You got to train your sense of identity, and you've got to eliminate the chinks in your armor. Because it's not the techniques that'll fail. It's the person's willingness to use them. But assuming you have that, assuming you have it, narcissists are some of the easiest people in the world to manipulate. But don't believe me. Develop the will and use it. Okay? Use the techniques. But here's my promise to you. If you said yes to any part of tonight's the content I asked about earlier, my promise to you is this. If you stay until the end of tonight's webinar. I'm going to share with you the fastest, most powerful, and ethical way to influence anyone to like, love, and trust and obey you. Okay, and one of the things I want to really stress for you right now is that your job, even though you're going to be able to cause people to believe in you tremendously, your job actually isn't about obedience, or isn't about belief. It's actually about compliance. It's about getting people to actively do what you want them to do willingly, right? You had me at obey. Well, again, obedience just kind of, if you do the things that I'm going to teach you to do, or I've taught you to do in the past, obedience is just going to happen. They just won't feel like they're being obedient. They'll feel like this is all my idea, and I'm going to get everything I want by doing it. So of course I'm going to do it. That's going to be their attitude. Well, this is just normal. This is a natural thing to do, right? And here's the best part. You will never, ever, ever have to lie, cheat, steal, or coerce anyone ever to do what you want them to do. It's never necessary to do that. That's one of the cool things about this system that I kind of inadvertently developed when I created it. There's a lot of good people out there teaching a lot of good influence stuff, but a lot of it is derived from criminology or FBI or military tactics, where it's a win-lose scenario, and you install these short-term thinking states in people because you want to get them in that moment to stop thinking about the ramifications of the action, and you don't care about a long-term relationship with them. So you get these people into these short-term thinking states and then throw them to the wolves. And so crossing that line, coercing, lying, distorting facts, these are all things that, again, if there's a line, and this is the dark side of it, we're all over here. I didn't realize it until I started hanging out with my good friend Chase, who I tremendously respect. He studied my stuff, I've studied his. But there are very different, very distinct lines that our systems take. And it didn't dawn on me until we taught spycraft, really. Last year, this September, it'll be a year since we taught that class. That's what we had developed, was a way of completely getting people to do anything you wanted them to do without ever lying or cheating or blackmailing or any of that negative, high pressure stuff. It's really cool, but it was never something that I directly thought about. But it is something that does hold a lot of people back from exerting influence. In fact, in the Killer Influence Manual, if you opt into one of our programs, you'll get the 200+ page manual. One of the things that we talk about is all the reasons why people won't be successful with this material. And one of the biggest ones is this idea, this fantasy that they're doing something evil or unethical, right? And so one of the things that I really want to kind of put out there right for you guys right away, everything about the Killer Influence system, and I know it's named Killer Influence, it's very provocative, it gets your attention, but everything about what we're going to be doing is about moving through the world, getting everything you want by helping everyone else get what they want. And you'll never have to lie or cheat or steal. In fact, thank you for Jack says, I loved your shared podcast with Chase. Yeah, he's been after me to do spycraft again, so we might actually collaborate and do a spycraft too. But that's not the topic of today's webinar. So but I honestly, I love talking about this stuff, but the more I talk about other stuff, the less we get to the actual meat. So let me go back to my promises to you. So that's just one of the things I'm going to share with you. The other pieces are how to have people hanging on your every word. In fact, a lot of these are the same thing. How to have people salivating to do what you want them to do. How to control your emotions and remove resistance to your influence. This is one of the coolest things about some of the protocols that we've got in the Killer Influence system, is that we can actually, in a normal conversation, figure out what exactly will make somebody want to do the thing that they just said they didn't want to do, and make it seem like it's their idea. It's a very powerful, very simple protocol, and if people want to learn it on part 3 of the webinar tonight, then I'm happy to share that. What we're going to do for the first part of tonight's webinar is I'm going to teach until about 5 or 5:10. Then we're going to segue into part 2 of the webinar. And I'm going to share with you the packages we put together for you. People really love those, and how to upgrade and level up your skills. Then when that's done, we're going to circle back and we're going to pick up where we left off in part 1 and build on the foundations that we laid. And that's going to include how to control your emotions and remove resistance to your influence, and the exact steps you need to go from interesting information to maximum transformation in minimum time. So this is not going to be a short webinar, folks. So I really hope that you kind of settled in for the duration. I will try to keep on track as much as I can, but this is material that is worth its weight in gold. It's proven itself over and over and over again, and if you just come away with 1 or 2 things, they can make all the difference in your world. So here's what we're going to talk about as part of that agenda. We're going to talk about the secret back door into the human nervous system, a system for unstoppable influence and maximum attention, focus, and concentration. These are literally the most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment, and I'm going to explain why that's true. I'm going to teach you the secrets of emotional bonding and attraction so that you can take the emotional hot buttons that anyone has, link them to you, your product, or your service, and have people salivating to want to work with you. I'm going to teach you and talk about the 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence. We won't have time to really go deep dive into those because each of those is a whole field of study in and of itself, but we'll teach you what they are, how they work together, and what some of the dynamics of each one may be, and which ones you may want to focus on as you go through our curriculums. And finally, we'll talk about how to remove resistance to your influence, a little known formula for getting people to want to do the things they just told you they did not want to do so that you can take control and get the life you want the way you want it. Start mastering yourself inside and out starting today. Does that sound like a good program for today? Yes or yes? Okay. So, what you're seeing in front of you right now is the diagram that started it all. This is known as the CPI. This is the core of the CPI and killer influence systems. It is known as the Universal Persuasion Protocol. I developed this for myself in the early 90s. I didn't teach it openly to anyone until probably the early 2002, 2003. And then I only did that to my groups in Los Angeles. This is an algorithm that you follow. If you follow this formula, you will be able to influence anyone, anytime, anywhere, for any reason. Everything from the classroom to the courtroom to the bar room to the treatment room to the bedroom. It does not matter. If you're at a networking function, it'll work. If you're doing a Zoom call, it'll work. If you're talking to an auditorium of 10,000 people, it'll work. Okay? It does not matter what the situation is. If humans and language are involved, this will carry the day. So we're going to do a brief, again, each of these is, we have whole segments in the training on this, so I don't have time to go into deep dive in it, but I want you to understand if you just follow this algorithm, using whatever skills you already possess, you are far more likely to get your outcome. Okay? So the first thing is you never, and you should probably write this down, you never ever enter any persuasion situation without defining your outcome first. In other words, you need to know what it is you want to accomplish before you engage with that person. Once you know what your outcome is, you've got to get control of your own psycho-emotional state. Okay, we divide state control into 2 forms. You have what we call physiological state control, what you do with your body and your breath to access certain emotional states. And we have volitional cognitive state control, what you do with your mind and your imagination to generate states or modulate the emotional states that you have. You must do physiological state control first. And the reason for that is if your physiology is in chaos, you do not have you can't access your cognitive resources. So we spend a ridiculous amount of time training you on how to do this. And then what we do is we move you to the rapport phase. Rapport phase is about tapping into the power of another person's neurology, connecting with their neurology at a deep level so that you can transmit emotional states back and forth. Okay? Now, if you've studied classical NLP, you know that if I copy someone's gestures or I copy someone's breathing, I can get rapport. We actually divide rapport into 3 different levels of rapport, and each one is used for a very specific purpose. Once you get rapport with your subject, then you use whatever language patterns that you have. Okay, so if all you know, like let's say you're coming from the therapy world and or from the suicide prevention world, and all you know is active listening, well, that's what you use, right? Or if you're from the NLP world and all you know is the Milton model, well, that's what you use. Jennifer, which state? Oh, 3 levels of rapport. Yes, there are 3 levels. There's classical, we call it classical rapport, coherence, and vibing. Or the scientific term is actually activity level, but vibing is actually the term that the seduction community used, and it's a little bit more all-inclusive. But again, we cover these in depth in Killer Influence, so if you want to learn them, or Attraction Mastery is actually where we talk about the vibing stuff mostly. But yeah, there's 3 levels of rapport, right? And then you use whatever language that you have. Now, the beautiful part is certain aspects of your language, about never entering, you never enter a persuasion, for Jennifer, and for those of you who didn't get the first part about outcome, you never enter voluntarily. You never voluntarily enter into a persuasion situation without first defining an outcome for yourself. In other words, the basic question is, what do I want to get as a result of doing this process, of interacting with this person? You have to start thinking very, very goal specific. In other words, we don't just talk to be flapping our gums. Everything about what we do is to get a result. Okay? Now, if that result can be as simple as creating a new friend. It can be as complex as talking somebody out of a trauma, right? And all points in between. But we have to know what it is that we want to accomplish and have a reliable way of measuring if we're moving towards it or away from it. Because that is the single most important piece to behavioral engineering. If you don't have a way if you don't know what you want, you can't define if you're moving towards it or not. And then secondly, if you don't have a way to measure it, you don't know how to change what you do to get your outcome. Okay, so that's my little blurb on the CPI, Universal Persuasion Protocol. You use these 3. Let me get my annotation stuff going on here. You use these 3 to manage the state of the subject. Okay, we have many different ways that we can utilize those 3 components to manage the state. Then we're going to jump into whatever cognitive process they use that allows them to make the decision we want them to make, and we're going to bond to their emotional values. Now, if you look over here, you notice that this whole thing is kind of set up like a target. This is visually to tell you that everything on the outside of the circle works on anybody who can hear your voice or read your text. As you move towards the center of the diagram, each level amplifies the levels that come before it. At the center of the persuasion bullseye is what is known in NLP as criteria and values. In our systems, we call it the emotional bonding checklist. These are the emotional reasons that people have for everything they do. These are the emotional rules that they govern their life by. And if you understand what those rules are, you can effectively link anything that you want to talk to them about to those lists, and you will have their undivided attention, and their heart will go pitter-pat. And they will actually, if you do it long enough, they will actually tend to do what you want simply by default. Okay? That's all the power just from emotional bonding. And we're going to do some drills together where you get to experience the power of this for yourself, within yourself. Does everybody understand these 6 steps? Control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage their state, jump into their process, bond to their criteria and values. You guys with me? Type if you're with me so far. Type I got it. Cool. All right. So if you haven't written this down or you haven't taken a screenshot, why the hell not? I just gave you the roadmap for everything. Okay? If you combine this with a fun, playful state, You get into a persuasion situation, you have no idea how to go about influencing. The first thing you're going to do is set an outcome. The second thing you're going to do is control your state. The third thing you're going to do is get rapport. The fourth thing you're going to do is use your language. You're going to use all that to manage the state of the subject. You're going to jump into whatever processes they might be doing or needing to make that decision, and you're going to link to their criteria and values. You're going to link to their emotional triggers. It's that simple. Right? It cuts through all the BS. For those of you doing any kind of sales, where they teach you to talk about 27 different features and hope one of them sticks, you'll never have to do that again. All you have to do is talk about the aspects of your product or service that directly meet their emotional bonding checklist, use their words to do it, and they'll automatically tend to want to buy from you. It's just their own selfish, enlightened self-interest. So we're cool with this? We're good? Yes? Type yes if you're with me. And I know I'm talking fast because I want to get as much into you as humanly possible. Cool. The more yeses I see, the more excited I get, the more I teach. He's extorting us! All right. Hold on a second. Why is that not working now? Hold on a second. Let me stop sharing. And, okay. So, here's our first drill. In the chat, what I want you to do, first thing I need you to do is get a pen or a pencil, a piece of paper. When you've done that, type got it. Okay. Now, when you saw me advertising for this webinar, promoting this webinar, there were certain things, certain problems in your life that you wanted to use this material to solve. True or not true? This is our first big drill. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down on that page exactly what you want to be able to do as a result of the webinar tonight, of being on the webinar and following my instructions and getting all the information. What is it you want to be able to do? When you've done that, type done in the chat. Okay. Good. French says good. Dan, good. All right. Now, underneath that statement, or what you want to accomplish, close your eyes unless you're driving. Don't close your eyes if you're driving. Right? But imagine for a moment that you've followed my instructions on this webinar. You've gained the techniques, you've gotten whatever programs I recommended, whatever, and you've applied them. Even if it's just the techniques from tonight's webinar, you've applied them, and you're winning. You're getting it. You're getting what you came here to learn how to do. I want you to imagine what that might be like. What might you see when you have it? What might you hear? What might you smell? What might you taste? Because when you do that, when you're that person who can have it, when you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's an amazing feeling that you get. And that feeling has a name. Write the name down of that feeling. And then as you live in that space, write this question down. What's important about that? And write the answer to the question. So whatever comes up first, I want you to write that answer out. Okay? This is an important drill, and so I want to make sure that we have it, okay? When you're done, when you've written out what's important about it, type done. That's level 1. That's the first level of this process. Okay, good. Good. Excellent. Now, level 2. Assume for a moment that once you've answered what's important about, imagine you've got that next thing. If you had that, what's important about that? So you're going to ask the what's important about question again. So Jennifer says, when I'm solid, I can help others. And Jennifer, when you know you're solid, when you've seen all the ways that you have applied this material and you've become solid, what's important about that? Now, you don't need to type it in the chat, but that's what I want you to think about for all of you. What's important about that? What's it going to do for you? What's it going to allow you to experience or be able to do? What's important about is the magic question, and I want you to answer it. First impressions. Pay attention to the exact words that you use. Pay attention to the exact words that you use. And when you've done that, type done in the chat. Feeling centered? Okay, good. And if you were feeling centered, if you had a way to do that on a consistent basis, what's important about that? So once again, you have 3 levels to this. What's important about level 1, what's important about level 2, what's important about level 3. I'm going to show you a template in a minute so you can screen capture it and practice this. But I want you to have these answers written out for yourself. And when you've got them all written out, type done in the chat so I know, and we'll do the next level of the drill. Okay. Cool. So here's the next piece. I want you to take that piece of paper, if you wrote it on a piece of paper. I want you to stand up. And all I want you to do is I want you to hold it. Let me get a piece of paper really quick. This will work. I want you to hold that piece of paper up at about a 45-degree angle. And I want you to just read your answers to those 3 questions, those 3 what's important about questions. Read them out loud 5 times. Out loud 5 times. When you've done that, type done in the chat. Okay, Ellen's done. Mitchell's done, good. Philip, good. Kathy, Susan. Bill, good. Maurice, Ernesto, Jose, good. Good, good, good. All right, we're getting there. All right, so what happened to the feelings in your body when you spoke those 3 sentences or those 3 answers out loud? What happened? Type in the chat, what happened? Peace within, tingling, fear, okay. Shift in the brain. Felt powerful. Felt the warmness in my heart. How many of you noticed, excellent, how many of you noticed as you were writing these things, you started to get emotional? Yes? Yes or yes? Feel like it happened? Yes. What you've just experienced for yourself is your own emotional bonding checklist in the context of learning the things on this webinar. How many feel really motivated right now? Right? This is how you can tap into your own emotional checklist, your own emotional triggers, and this is what you're going to learn to do with everyone you meet. What if you could move through the world making everyone you interact with feel like you feel right now? Positively. What would that do for you? Yeah. Lots of smiles and angel faces, right? You want to learn how to do this? There's 2 techniques that we use together with this. The first one is the secret backdoor to the, it will absolutely make you valuable. In fact, Delilah, there's a part of this, there's a version of this we call the interview crusher that's used during job interviews that will have any potential employer salivating to hire you, even if you're not actually qualified for the job. That's why you have to be careful, because while it's never necessary to lie, you can very much cause people to do things that are not in their best interest if you choose to cross that line. It's not necessary, but I've had it happen many, many times where people, there was a job and then they went in and they just did this process, and there was a 3-interview process. They got called on the way home and offered the job after the first interview, right? Even for jobs they weren't really all that qualified for. So here's the first set of principles we need to understand. This is what drives every single human being on the planet, and you just tapped into it, and it's called feelings. Feelings, nothing more than feelings, right? Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. As you go through the techniques and the principles in this webinar, and you see the pathway to getting everything on that list in front of you and more, you'll rapidly realize the power of what you truly have, and you'll be excited about taking every advantage to enhance and build on those levels. Okay? The first part of it starts with understanding feelings. Everything human beings do is either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. When you tap into that, they become highly motivated in whatever direction and in the buttons that you press. So the fastest way to do this is the fastest way to get anyone to do anything is to activate their body feelings. The fastest way to change another person's body feelings is to change yours first. Okay? You remember that CPI model I told you? Control your state, get rapport, use your language. That whole process of getting rapport and controlling your state is a mirror neuron effect. If I'm connected with somebody and I initiate an emotional state change in myself, their mirror neurons will pick it up and reflect it. Now, because it's being reflected, the person doesn't often realize that it came from outside of them. Does that make sense? And so their reticular activating system, their perceptual filters shift, and so they become more predisposed to wanting to do what you want them to do. Okay, it just seems natural for them. Now, the first technique that we're going to talk about is the echo technique. How many people here have never heard of the echo technique? Hold on a second. I am predisposed to, and stuff's flying faster than I can read it. I'll have to read it later. Anyway, I'm predisposed to... Anyway. So, I'm getting confused. I'm getting, let me turn that off the chat so I don't get too distracted. All right. If you have not heard of the echo technique, this is the first most powerful nuclear technique I want you to have. It's the simplest one. And it goes like this. The fastest way, the most important words that any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. Now, you don't have to believe that for it to be true. In fact, I challenge you to go out and try to get caught using this. Many, many, many years ago, in the early 90s, when I had my karate school in Coral Springs, Florida, my understanding of this technique was not near what it is today, but I still used it almost religiously to book the vast majority of students for my class. And that process would sound an awful lot like, ring, ring, good afternoon, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Hi, David. My name is Brenda, and I'm interested in karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Oh, hey, Brenda. So you're interested in karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Yeah. And don't laugh. They'll do that. You'll say exactly what came out of their mouth, and they'll say, it's like, oh my God, how did you know? It's weird, but yeah. I'm really concerned that my son is very intelligent. He's a sweet kid, and he's really smart. In fact, he's so smart that his teachers have moved him up a grade, and I'm a little concerned because the kids are a bit bigger than him. And I'd heard that martial arts was a good way to develop confidence and focus and to kind of protect yourself from bullies. Oh, I see. So Josh is a really sweet kid. He's very smart, so smart, in fact, that his teachers moved him up a grade. And if I hear you correctly, you're concerned that the bigger kids might pick on him, and you had heard that martial arts was a way to develop confidence and self-esteem and focus, and a good way to protect yourself against bullies. Yeah, David, do you think this is something that would help Josh? Bernice, I think this would absolutely help Josh. In fact, one of the things that we know for a fact is that for centuries, martial arts has been a proven way to help young children develop focus and confidence and the ability to protect themselves against bullies in all walks of life, really. And I think as you go through our program, as Josh gets further and further into our program, you'll start to see the benefits of that. You'll start to realize that he's moving through the world with more confidence, more self-esteem. He's able to carry himself in a way that takes him off the bully's menu, so to speak. And you'll find, I think, that Josh is really just a happier, healthier, more focused and confident kid as a byproduct of coming to our classes. Wow, David, that sounds amazing. Well, can you tell me more about your program? Sure. The best thing to do is, let me tell you a little bit about our programs. The best thing to do is to bring Josh in and let him experience the class for himself. We have special programs just for kids who are brand new, like Josh, who's in the 10-year-old range, to help them develop more confidence and skill and focus, and give them some basic self-defense. It's 2 free group lessons and 1 private class, and it comes with a free uniform. And I have a slot today at 5:30, but I also have one tomorrow at 6 p.m. Which do you think would be a better fit for you and Josh? Let me think. You know what? Let's do it tomorrow at 6, because then he can eat his dinner, he can get his homework done, and then he can just come in. And if he likes it, then we'll see what we want to do next. Excellent. I'm going to put you and Josh down for tomorrow at 6 p.m. and we'll see you then. You have a great day. Click. 9 out of 10 of them showed up. Okay? Now, how much of what I said was original? Assuming that I'm playing, I'm 2 different people. How much of what I said came out of Bernice's mouth? Oh shit, he's asking questions. 10% was mine, yeah. The rest was what? Bernice's. Because when somebody calls you and they start talking to you about their needs, they don't want to hear what you have to say. They want to hear you say what they just said in a way that lets them know you can give it to them. Okay? And again, you can believe this or not. It doesn't really matter to me. All right? I've written my own ticket in life using this technique, and thousands of people on these channels are doing the same thing every day. You don't got to believe it. You just got to do it. In fact, if you've used the echo technique successfully more than once, type it in the chat, just so people can see. Right? It is literally the back door to the human nervous system. And even in our advanced classes, people are amazed at what this thing can do. But let me give you just a brief rundown of all the things that are possible using the echo technique. Okay, first and foremost, this is the fastest way to get anybody to pay attention to you. Okay? It literally forces a person's neurology to pay attention to you to the exclusion of everything else. It eliminates the problem of small talk and eliminates boring conversations. How many of you hate small talk? Or when you see someone interesting and you want to talk to them, you have absolutely no idea what to say. Right? What if you could say a few words and then have them carry on the rest of the conversation and tell you everything you ever wanted to know about them and like, love, and trust you the longer they talk? That is the side effect, the byproduct of using the echo technique with people. It primes your target to keep talking, and it give you more and more and more information. And they will think you are the most fascinating conversationalist they've ever met. And 80% or more of what you said is what just came out of their mouth. Okay? Don't believe me, just use it. Okay? It will prime people to keep talking and give you more information. It will send powerful signals of sameness to the listener. And it will cause them to become progressively more connected, attracted, and positively disposed towards you. Right? It makes the listener feel heard, understood, accepted. We call that validation. And the byproduct of that is it raises your social status in the minds of the listener. Okay? I don't understand what that question is, FG. I don't know, so I'll come back to it. So, and it's really simple. When I train my students how to do it, the first thing we learn is how to do it verbatim. Okay? Just use as many of the words that came out of their mouth and as close to the way they used it as humanly possible. Okay? And then you can hide those same words in statements, in the forms of questions, in the forms of commands, and you can also use them in fragments. You can use pieces, right? And again, here's a whole, again, we don't have time to do this right now, but this is part of what my advanced students and the killer influence students would be getting. So this is the first technique, and it's built into the next technique that you just experienced, which was the emotional bonding checklist. So the emotional bonding checklist allows you to reach into somebody's heart and emotionally connect them to you, your product, or your service, and literally makes them want to do what you want them to do. Okay? Now you can simply talk about those things, or you can find ways to embody them, which again we'll talk about in the Killer Influence live training or in the actual programs. The emotional bonding checklist relates to a category of beliefs in NLP known as criteria and values. Okay? Here's the most important piece to take away from this. People have personal and unique emotional bonding checklists for every decision they make and every action that they take. Now, what does this really mean for us? What it means is they have a set of rules that define the perfect or ideal anything. Okay? Now, when those rules are met, they go into a profound desire and pleasure state, connected to you or your service. That's how it works. And they give that feeling a name. Right? Now some people might call it security, some people might call it freedom, some people might call it bliss or peace. Doesn't really matter. Right? Right? Yes, at John, David is teaching you how to pay attention. You got it. One of the byproducts and the side effects of using the echo technique on a consistent basis is it will train you to pay deeper levels of attention to everyone you interact with. And the one thing that you need, for those of you who have an energetic or metaphysical background, even if you don't, this is something you should write down. Where attention flows, energy goes. Right? You've all encountered the proverbial energy vampire, right? You know these people. You walk up and all they do is monopolize your attention, they monopolize your time, and when you leave you feel like a dried up prune inside. Why? Because by grabbing and holding your attention, they can suck the energy out of you. But the inverse is also true. When you beam attention at other people, the bonding and think of it, all plants follow the sun. When you start giving attention to people and you give it to them in a way that they can actually consume it and recognize it, they bond to you. They don't want to give it up because no one has ever made them feel that good that quickly. Right? You've all met people, right, who just made you feel good for no friggin' reason. Maybe you were a kid in elementary school, maybe it was high school. They were just people that just lit you up the minute they walked in the room. Right? I'm teaching you how to be that person. Be the person that lights people up. But understand that the underlying mechanism. Where attention goes, energy flows. Now your job, once you've got that, is to give people the attention they need in the way that they most easily can process it. And that is by using their exact words. When you use their exact words, there's a perfect message to internal motivation list match. There's no possibility of being misunderstood or mistranslated. Okay? When you connect that to the emotional bonding checklist, now not only are you you're giving them the words they need in the order they need to hear them. You're passing through every single filter that they have and playing a song on the strings of their heart that links what they want to what you offer. Does that make sense? If it makes sense and you're with me so far, type it in the chat. A hymn. Right, I don't know what that means. Okay, so let's go back to the screenshot really quick. So here's what I'm going to give you guys right now, a template for using emotional bonding. Now this is called, you notice it says here the emotional motivation checklist and the emotional bonding checklist. It's the same thing. The difference is, you can't see the shot? Can anybody else not see it? Okay. So, first thing you want to do, let me get this out of the way. So, all right. So the first thing you're going to ask is, what do you want? And you're going to answer that question. So maybe you want to make more money, right? Then you want to ask the question, what's it going to do for you? So that's the first piece. How many people can see my stuff? I want to make sure, because it might just be with you, Jennifer. I don't know. Okay, Kathy can. Alex can. Okay. All right, good. Okay. So you always want to find out, what do you want? There's always going to be that initial question. So, and that question can come in any form. It's like, so what can I do for you today? Or how can I help you? But the bottom line is, what is it that you want? That's where you enter. The next thing is going to be, what's it going to do for you, or what's important about it? Okay? What's important about X? Let me see if I can find a better template, because this one might not be quite as clear as I like. Here we go. There we go. All right, take a screenshot of this one. This gives you the literal tree that I want you to follow. So what's important about getting or having it? What's it going to do for you? Write your answer. What's important about that? Write the answer. What's important about that, or what's that going to do for you? Ultimately, what's important about that? Write your answer. Now, notice it's the same question repeated 3 times, applied to the previous answer. When you do this on yourself, we call it the emotional motivation checklist. When you do it with others, we call it the emotional bonding checklist. It's the same process. With this process, you can literally reach into a person's psyche, find out what their rules are for what defines the perfect anything, and using their exact words, link it directly to you, your product, or your service. Okay? And right below here, you'll see exactly the drill we did earlier. If you got the tools you wanted to learn from this webinar, what would that do for you? Right? You echo, you validate, you soften, you ask again. That's called the master echo sequence. We didn't have time to talk about it in this class, but we've talked about it in other webinars and other trainings, and you'll definitely learn it when you take Killer Influence. So the whole idea for you, I did this drill with you for 2 reasons. A, I wanted you to link everything that you want to get to following the instructions in this webinar. I'll be very transparent. I want you to get these systems. I want you to have access to this material. But I want you to find it as directly relevant to what you're doing. Yeah. Values elicitation in NLP, yes. The problem is that one process, that one super solid gold nugget is buried in 10 tons of crap. And so people never really realized what they had. So this is the core of what we do. All right. So have you taken a screenshot of this? Have you guys? Can we move on? Sava says you can raid anyone's soul with this. Yes. Yes, you can. I'm not going to lie to you. This is why I say I'm not a persuasion cop. But let me give you guys a couple of caveats and rules of thumb. First of all, the whole idea behind using the emotional bonding checklist is to find out exactly what somebody wants for the purpose of actually being able to give it to them. When I say you can move through the world getting anything you want by showing other people how to get what they want, this is the process that will let you do that, right? Now, every now and then, by the way, has this been useful so far? Have you guys learned some cool stuff? Okay, good. Excellent. Part of this process, and by the way, if you use this properly, you'll never have to sell to anyone. You just find out what they want to buy and you talk about only those things. Okay? But part of the process is finding out what it is they really want and how they know they're getting it. Now, if during that process you make the determination that what you have isn't a fit for what they need, you're now at an ethical crossroads. Here's what I mean. Because you know exactly what to say and how to say it, you could mislead them and they will buy. However, when they discover that you have used their values against them, you will have an enemy for life. You will have massive buyer's remorse. You will have all kinds of horrible, scathing Yelp reviews. These people, because you violated the deepest core of their trust, they will move heaven and earth to get payback. Okay? I'm just going to let you know. When you violate somebody's values, that's a pain that sticks. So, if you got somebody that's in your life that you want to get rid of, I also gave you the master key for getting rid of them. Violate their values. They'll leave. They'll leave like a rocket. However, because we are the good Jedi, because it's never necessary to lie or coerce or deceive to get what you want, if you're in a situation when you make the determination that you cannot fulfill that need, all you have to do is tell them that. And say, look, based on what you're telling me, what I have is not a fit for you at this time. So I recommend you go see this person or that person or go talk to XYZ company because I think what they have is a better fit for you. Now, that seems like you're giving away business. Let me tell you what actually happens. I call it social boomeranging. Because you are absolutely honest with this person, your social status, your level of integrity in their world goes through the ceiling. And so what happens on the back end is as they take your recommendations, they will start recommending and referring people to you hand over fist. And they will look for a reason to work with you in the future. So if you could put the whole instant gratification thing, get it now or it may not come back tomorrow thing out of your head and control your state, and you do this properly, you will have business upon business upon business. They'll just keep finding you because those people will tell people. And if you keep doing this, it starts to exponentially grow. Is that helpful? Type in the chat. Excellent. So here's what I'd like to do. We've reached part 2 of the webinar. We've laid some foundations for you in the part 1. What I'd like to do now is the pieces I've shared with you are absolutely nuclear. They can stand on their own, but they're part of a complete system that we teach. And we have supplemental systems that go with that primary system. So with your permission, if this is the scope of everything that there is to learn, we have time for this much, I want to show you how to take your skills to the next level, if that's okay with you. Is that a fair trade? Can we spend some time talking about how to go even higher and then circle back and pick up where we left off? Cool. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about how to take your stuff to the next level. With your permission, I'd like to talk to you about one of my favorite programs or combination programs of all time. This is called the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Mastery Home Study Course. This is actually not one course, but a series of courses that I've put together to help you learn the secrets of human influence for any reason you want from the privacy of your own home. So there's a core curriculum, and then there are supplements that we've put together to help you really get the biggest bang for your persuasion buck. So what we're going to talk about first is all about everything you want from living in society. It's all about making more money, closing more deals, helping more people, getting more dates, feeling more confident and powerful, and literally, like I mentioned earlier, winning the game of life. Because when you live in a society, the only way you survive and thrive in a society is to move through the world, getting people to want to do the things you want them to do. This is the fast track to doing that in the most ethical, honest, and powerful way. It'll allow you to instantly become more charming, charismatic, and ultimately irresistible. This offer does expire today, September 7th at 11:59 p.m. But don't worry, each of the products are available on our website. Most of them are available on our website at full price, and it's worth it if you want to do that. So here's what you're going to get. It's a 17-video course that teaches you the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. That's that target diagram that I started with that gives you the core system of influence, right? We're going to teach you even deeper levels of that. We're going to teach you how to think like a master of influence. It's a $297 value. You see, masters of influence, masters of persuasion. In fact, I just did a module on this last night in my coaching program. Masters of persuasion and influence think differently than the average human being. Okay? Remember earlier I mentioned that everything, you don't talk to people just to be talking. Everything about your communication is to give you a result. We're going to teach you step by step how to install that thinking process in your mind so you can move through the world getting everything you want by helping everybody else get what they want. It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you how to control your own psycho-emotional state so no one can push your emotional buttons ever again. We'll teach you how to generate powerful emotional states that you can then transfer through your rapport skills into other human beings that makes them think the way you want them to think and think it's their idea. It's a $297 value. Then we're going to teach you power rapport skills. Now, in our world, we divide the skills of rapport into 3 different types or categories of rapport. And each one is used for a different set of applications. If you've been through NLP or Ericksonian hypnosis or sales, you were taught what we call classical rapport. Classical rapport only gets you frequency. It only gives you the wavelength the person is on. It doesn't give you emotional amplitude. It doesn't amplify the strength of the signal you're sending out. It doesn't cut through the noise between you and the communication, in the communication lines between you and these other people. And it doesn't generate attraction. It generates connection. Or it'll put you in the friend zone. Now, a lot of times being in the friend zone is useful, but a lot of times it isn't. You sometimes want a little bit more juice, and that's where the other 2 levels of connection or rapport that we talked about earlier come in. We're going to teach you all 3. It's a $297 value. Then we're going to teach you the 7 most irresistible hypnotic language patterns that exist. Okay? One language, let me ask you a question. I want you to imagine this for a moment. What if you had the hypnotic power, the magical ability to make anything you want seem to cause anything you want in the minds of your listener? Would that be a useful skill to have? We're going to show you how to do that. What if you had the ability to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your subject? What could you do with that? What if you had the ability to systematically redirect subliminally a person's focus of attention so that they automatically focused only on the things you wanted and ignored everything else, and you could literally automate processes in their mind that would run on autopilot and have them respond to it as if it's their own idea? That's 3 language patterns. There's 7. What if you had the ability to make a person's internal mind movies be exactly what you describe without 0 chance of failure or mistranslation? What could you do with that? That's only 4 of the 7 language patterns that we're going to teach you, and that doesn't include the echo technique. Okay? There are 7 of the most powerful language patterns that exist. They are such fundamental building blocks of your neurology that you cannot use them and you cannot listen to them without being affected by them. They control everything. And if you understand these, then everything you say and write becomes an irresistibly compelling, pleasurable, hypnotic induction. Okay? You become ultra charismatic really, really quickly. Okay? From there, we're going to teach you how to take all of those skills and strategically manage the emotional states of other people, so that people think in the directions you want them to think, they process and reference their own emotional states the way you want them to. And then we're going to teach you finally how to emotionally bond to anyone's deepest desires, so they literally want to do what you want them to do. And in many cases, especially in a sales context, they'll literally ask you to buy it. Each of these is a $297 value, but if you think about what it lets you actually do, it's really priceless. We're also going to include the 200+ page Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto. Now, this particular manual has the entire 6-stage universal persuasion protocol in it, but it also covers 5 to 6 different other types of influence that have nothing to do with language that you can use to amplify and magnify everything in the universal persuasion protocol. One of those modules is known as proxemic hypnotic operators. This is the way to use spatial relationships in the room between you and other people to psychologically position yourself in their minds so they automatically think about you in the most positive way possible. For example, I'll give you 1 or 2 quick examples. If I stand on a person's dominant side, they will tend to view me more positively than if I stand on their non-dominant side. If I position myself below eye level, they will feel more comfortable with me than if I'm standing at or above eye level. So different ways that you can place yourself and utilize the spatial relationships between you and other people that can significantly modify what you do with your words. I'll give you one more real quick. Just where you sit at a conference table can systematically amplify your authority or completely neutralize it and make you the low man or low woman on the totem pole. So if you ever find yourself in meetings where you have to be taken seriously, where you have to win, knowing these positions could be the difference between getting what you want or getting thrown out of the meeting, okay, or completely ignored. That's just one. That's proxemic hypnotic operators. We're going to talk about meta programs. These are filters to your perception that when you present things to people in specific ways, they automatically process and do predictable things. Then we have social hypnotic operators. These are triggers that society and culture have programmed into you that the minute society presses a button, you just do it. You've all heard about scarcity, you've all heard about reciprocity. I'm going to show you what they are, how they work, how to do it, and how to inoculate yourself so that nobody can push your buttons using those triggers without your permission ever again. We're going to talk about cold reading and face reading. This is how you develop powerful personality profiles that tell you what types of influence are going to have the biggest bang for your buck with a particular subject, and how to talk to them so that they view you as the ultimate authority in their world. Those are all the appendixes. There's a few more. Lie detection is part of it. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different appendixes in this manual on top of everything that I've listed here. So it's a $418 value, and it's going to come with access to a special online community of over 210 people that I'll talk about in a minute. Total price for this, if you were to try and buy it, would be $2,497. But we're going to bundle some really cool things along with this to make this an even more powerful and comprehensive package for you. So if you grab your course today, you're going to get these special exclusive bonuses. And the first one is one of my most challenging courses. All right, is Weapons of Mass Instruction. You know, for 20, 30 years, when I was coming up through the ranks, and I was studying Ericksonian hypnosis, and I was studying sales and marketing, and I was studying NLP, everybody would tell me how powerful stories are. And every time I tried to learn how to do stories to be hypnotically irresistible, I got met with the same tired old stuff that I couldn't understand. I didn't understand how to get it to work. And after going through yet another course on storytelling that just basically taught me the hero's journey, I realized if there was a course that I wanted to take on how to neurologically persuade people using stories, I was going to have to create it. And that's what Weapons of Mass Instruction is all about. And after studying the neuroscience, the social psychology, and all the other sources that went into this program, I can tell you without beyond a shadow of a doubt that storytelling is by far the most powerful, most universal persuasion tool that we have. It's so powerful, in fact, that the entire course of human history has been based and changed by it. But stories are never actually perceived as a means of persuasion and influence. It actually changes people's minds in the background. So this course is divided into 5 or 6 different types of stories. The first one is the science behind storytelling, why it works neurologically, the elements that have to be in it, and how to tell the 5 or 6 types of stories that you absolutely have to tell. Then it's going to talk about how to use stories to connect with people. These are little short stories that you could tell in a line at Starbucks, in a line at the movie theater, where maybe you don't want to make small talk, but you want to bond with people. And these stories have that ability to do that. The next module is all about what we call alpha stories. Alpha stories are all about how to use stories to persuade people more powerfully. And the amplified push to your persuasion. So you can use these these are things you would use in leadership, motivation, inspiration, redirection, reframing things. But they're very powerful. Let me see if I can show you the difference, because probably the best way to understand this is by contrast. Think of alpha stories, which are persuasion pushes. If I have this big, heavy filing cabinet that I want to move, I get behind it and I get some friends and I push really, really hard. That's what most sales stories or seduction stories are. They're alpha stories. They're stories that are designed to make people want something more. Okay? And so those are the stories that most people learn. But there's another kind of story. They're called omega stories. Omega stories are different. Alpha stories add more push to the persuasion engine, right? So if I have this big, heavy filing cabinet, if I get enough strength behind it, I can push it, but there's friction. It's going to drag on the floor. Omega stories have the ability to reduce the resistance to persuasion. So think about having this big, heavy filing cabinet that I've got 6 guys helping me push across the floor, or I can take some ball bearings, or I can take some oil, and I can spread it on the floor in front of that filing cabinet, and now as I push it, it's really easy to move. That's what omega stories do. And there are key elements within omega stories that dissolve and neutralize and make your stories irresistibly compelling. There's 2 elements that go into that, and a whole series of sub-elements that you can actually use with focus groups and test audiences to pressure test your stories to figure out if they are as neurologically compelling as you need them to be. That's all part of the Omega Story module. The next module in the series is called Ninja Stories. And Ninja Stories are kind of what people in NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis think they're doing, but don't really understand the full scope of what's possible. And so this is about using stories as a delivery mechanism for other persuasion techniques. I use what I call the Terminator metaphor. How many people here remember the original movie, The Terminator? Type in the chat if you remember that. Okay. So you guys remember that the Terminator was a machine, right? But machines couldn't pass through that membrane between the times. So what did they do? They had to wrap it in human tissue, right? They had to wrap it in something so it would pass through that aperture. That's exactly how stories work in the human consciousness. Within the bubble of a story, human beings automatically go into a trance state. But you can embed within that story, just like the Terminator's wrapped in human tissue, you can embed up to 14 different types of techniques inside of a story that can dramatically amplify and navigate the influence that you want to deploy. And so one of the things that we do in that particular module is we show you what that kind of influence actually looks like when it's used by real people in the real world. In other words, we take transcripts of very high-level influence professionals, people who are not teaching NLP or hypnosis or conversational hypnosis, but are using it within their stories and as part of their stage presentations to get people stampeding to the back of the room, right? Or to install things in people. I'm going to show you how it works, all the different techniques that can go into it, and how other people are using it so you can inoculate yourself against it, you can become aware of it, but also If you're somebody who makes their living presenting to humans and you want to be able to help them learn faster, motivate and inspire them, you can use these techniques to ethically have them level up with you, right? That's what weapons of mass instruction is all about. It's about the neuroscience of storytelling and metaphor, the different categories of story, and how to do and build each particular type so you can understand it. Okay, so that's a free bonus that we're giving to you just for grabbing a hold of the package we're talking about tonight. Let me go back to sharing my screen really quick. It's a $1,997 value, but we're going to give it to you free. So the combined value of the actual Secrets of Human Influence program plus this one bonus is $4,487 if you register now before the end of the webinar, right? We're also going to throw in one of the most powerful, covert, conversational, belief-changing tools I have ever come across. This program is called Renegade Reframing, and it's how to overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds. Stop for a moment and think about this, if you could. What if you had the ability, what if you had 14 different ways to overcome any limiting belief in your head or in other people's heads, or win any argument or overcome any objection that you're faced with? What if you had at least 14 different ways that you could individually change it in a few seconds before you even started combining them? What could you do with a power like that? I'm curious. What would you be able to do with that? Do you think you get more of what you want? I'm getting a message that some people aren't, yeah, right? That's what this is. This is based on a series of language patterns used by Richard Bandler and codified by a man named Robert Dilts that Richard would regularly use. One of the things that Richard Bandler, one of the founders of NLP, would do is he would teach the meta model and he would teach all these other techniques to his practitioners, and then he would challenge them to try and overcome or change his beliefs using the tools he just taught them. And Richard would use these 14 different patterns to completely wipe the floor with trained neurolinguistic programmers. And so one of Richard's oldest students, Robert Dilts, after watching this several times, started identifying and isolating the patterns. And the problem with a lot of old school NLP is it's really not user-friendly. I make a joke. As much as I love NLP, I often make the joke that to err is human. To really complicate things, you need a neurolinguistic programmer. And so the problem that a lot of people had with this particular material was that it wasn't taught in a way that people could grab a hold of it and actually start using it. So I got my hands on this and I said, okay, well, how can we make this fun? How can we gamify this? All right. And so what we did was we created templates for each of the patterns with some samples on how to build the pattern, an attitude that goes with each of the patterns, and then we created a card game. We call it the Reframe game, where you have like 5 or 6 people. You can make a drinking game out of it if you want. You literally point at someone, name a belief, and throw a card at them, and they have to use that pattern to overcome or reframe that belief. And you can just play games and get super good at this in just a couple hours and just have this on demand anytime you want. So we include all of that, plus the manual, with this course as a free bonus when you grab the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It's a way to round out your training, because you really only need this stuff if you screw up level 1, which is the Universal Persuasion Protocol. But if you have limiting beliefs or things that hold you back, if you write down your limiting belief and then use these 14 patterns, what will happen is your brain will literally let go of that belief, because now it has at least 14 other options of how to think about it. And you can't go back to the old way of thinking. So as a personal transformation tool, it's amazing. But it also gives you the skill to win any argument, overcome any sales objection, and change any belief anybody presents to you. That's what it does. Honestly, it is. It is crazy. But there's other things that it does as well that I can't talk about on a public webinar. But believe me when I say, these things are, again, you will become unstoppable. right? Now, the only thing that I recommend is when you get this package and you start applying the techniques and the concepts, don't go broadcasting to everybody what you're doing. It's okay to talk about this stuff, but only talk about it to people who you think would benefit from having the information. Because if you move through the world telling everybody what you know and bragging about it, you've just shot yourself in the foot, right? People are automatically suspicious of any form of persuasion, no matter how benevolent it may seem. So avoid shooting yourself in the foot. Keep these things to yourself. Share it only with select people, but use it on everyone to move through the world, making everyone you want more empowered, happy, more joyful, and getting everything they want by giving you what you want. Okay? Again, take that advice or not, it's up to you. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Okay? Total combined value is $6,484 when you register before the end of the webinar. Okay? Third bonus. This is the one that was actually the third influence course I ever created. This is the one that I learned from many different people and put it together, mostly for myself, then I started teaching it to my students. This is Charisma and Conversion, Hypnotic Presentation Skills for Presenters and Public Speakers. This is a complete course in charismatic influence. Everything from how to design a talk that subliminally, hypnotically, and enthusiastically primes people to want your product or service, to install the information that you want to teach at the deepest level, and to create stampedes of people rushing to the back of the room to level up with you. Okay, these are all the things that I do. These are all the things that I teach my persuasion and influence students who make a living through presentation. I was very proud this year to have almost 10 of my students actually selected as presenters for the HypnoThoughts Live Hypnosis Convention. In fact, once the people who run the convention found out they had been trained by me, they were automatically, I don't want to say they were automatically accepted, but I don't know of any single one of my people who applied that wasn't. So I had a very big, proud pop moment, and they all got rave reviews from their presenters, right? It really was. It was, and I could dish on my students for hours. I'm super proud of all of them because they prove this more than I do. You expect me to be good. You expect me to be good at it, and you expect me to have an agenda when I present it. They're the ones that prove this stuff by going out and just doing it, right? This will teach you everything you need to know. How to stand on stage, how to hold a microphone, how to design a talk on paper that subliminally, hypnotically motivates and primes people to do what you want them to do. How to do back of the room sales, how to take and repurpose that content for your blog, for your Instagram post, your TikTok channel, your YouTube, how to leverage meetup.com to create hundreds of hours of free content that you can get and repurpose and use. It's all in one big bundle. We're going to give it to you free. It's a $1,997 value. Total combined value on the package so far, should you decide to accept it, is $8,481 if you grab yours before the end of the webinar. So let's just review what we've talked about so far. Again, when people come to me to learn, I always say, get your asses to the live event and then use the videos as your supplement. But some people can't get to the live events. And so when faced with that conundrum, my question was, how can I create a program that will do all the things I can do for people in a live event from home? What's the core course that they need? What are the supplementations that they need? And this is what we put together. So you're going to get the Secrets of Human Influence package. It's a 17-video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol and the Unstoppable Killer Influence Mind Control Manifestation Manual. It's a $2,497 value. You go to http://www.killerinfluence.com/go. It's $2,497 value plus the manual. You're also going to get the Weapons of Mass Instruction Neuroscientific Storytelling Secrets recorded live. Comes with a manual as well. It's a $1,997 value. You're going to get Renegade Reframing, how to instantly overcome any or change any objection in conversation in seconds. $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you free. And you're going to get charisma and conversion, hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers. It is a $1,997 value. All combined, total value on this program is $8,481. And the best part is, you're not going to have to pay $8,481. Today, I want you to have these skills. I want you to have the best deal humanly possible. I want you to have everything you need to go out into the world and create your ideal life. To do that, you're not going to have to pay $8,481. We're not even going to drop it down to $6,481. We're not going to charge you $5,347. We're not going to charge you $33.47. We're not going to charge you $23.47. Heck, you can get it all. Every single thing I've talked about. The Universal Persuasion Protocol, the Mind Control Manifestation Manual, the Renegade Reframing, and how to change any belief in normal conversation, charisma and conversion, and of course, weapons of mass instruction. You can get it all for one low investment of just $997. And if you need a little help, all you need to do is go to or you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. And to grab yours now, which I recommend because they go quick, is go to the link in your chat, www.killerinfluence.com/GO. www.killerinfluence.com/GO. Killerinfluence.com/GO. MM says, using only the free stuff David shares, I got my practice as a therapist to an incredible level. That is fantastic. I love hearing that. Thank you so much for sharing. Right? To get started, go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Okay? Now, some of you, especially if you're first timers, maybe wondering, well, that's still a sizable investment. I don't know if I'm ready for the risk. Well, there is no risk. All you have to do is grab your course today at www.killerinfluence.com. Test the material, play with it, take it out into the world and see what happens for a full 60 days. If after 60 days you're not on the fast track to making more money, to closing more deals, to moving towards financial freedom, feeling more secure, more confident, more socially attractive and comfortable, if you're not 100% satisfied, just pick up the phone, send us an email, and we'll refund your money. If this course doesn't deliver more than what I'm talking about, and you're not satisfied, you have absolutely nothing to risk. Pick up the phone within 60 days, give us a call. If you have sticking points, call us anyway and let us know so we can help you, right? Give us 60 days to get you up and running and on the fast track. And if after 60 days, it's not doing what you need it to do, let us know. We'll make it right. Okay? 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. So all you got to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/GO. That's www.killerinfluence.com/GO. Brandon, can you post that in the chat? All right, here, I'll copy the link here. Oops, that's not what I wanted, but that's all right. Okay, I'll let Brandon handle that because I'm obviously not equipped to do links. All right. So yeah, really excited. I'm excited for you, Akshay, because I'm telling you, this stuff will completely change your life. Awesome. Let me put this in the chat once again. It's http://www.killerinfluence.com/GO. And I'm just cutting and pasting this so I can keep posting it for people because inevitably people ask for it. Excellent. All right. My trusty assistant, Brandon, is manning the YouTube channels. And if you have any questions, my amazing, all-powerful administrative goddess, Stephanie Skiba, who is also on the call, her line is open. If you need help, you have questions, you can just email her directly at stephanie@nlppower.com, or you can call her directly at 858-282-4663. That's 858-282-4663. Now, when you call, you may get her voicemail. That's because the floodgates have opened and people are calling left and right. Here's what you need to do. You must leave a message and your contact information. If you don't leave your contact information, we can't call you back and you don't qualify for the bonuses. If you do leave your contact information and we call you back, you will qualify for any of the bonuses we talked about. And if there are more, hint, you will also get those as well. But only if you call and you leave us your contact information. If you know you want this and you know it'll change your life, you realize you have absolutely nothing to risk, click that link, go to www.killerinfluence.com/GO and get on the fast track to getting everything you want from the society we live in. Okay? Now, if this wasn't an amazing enough deal already, for those of you who are the fast action takers and you know who you are, I have some special offers or some special extra bonuses just for you. If you grab your course before September 7th, 2022 at 11:59 p.m., that's today, 11:59 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to give you the following special bonuses. Now, here's the thing. The bonuses I'm about to tell you about are only available while I am physically on the webinar right now. The moment I log off the webinar for the night, these bonuses go away. Okay? So you can still get the original package that I talked about. But if you're a fast action taker, I want to reward you. Here's one of the first rules of influence you'll learn in Killer Influence. The behavior that gets rewarded gets repeated. The behavior that gets repeated gets reinforced. Okay? I'm repeating and I'm reinforcing your behavior because I want you to be action takers in life, not just on tonight's webinar, but everywhere. There is tremendous, tremendous power in going first. Double check your email, reach out to Stephanie. Sometimes it goes to spam, actually. So you get these fast action bonuses. A, one of the most important things that you can have in your corner when you begin to practice these skills is people to practice with. So what you're going to get as a special bonus to take your skills to another level is you're going to get a 3-month trial membership to our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group. Okay? This is a group that meets on the 3rd Saturday of every month, and in that group, I literally go around the room and I say, what do you want to learn today, Deborah? What do you want to learn today, Chris? What do you want to learn today, Holly? What do you want to learn today, Allegra? What do you want to learn today, Lillian? And I write it on my screen. And I look at where all those things connect, and I create a lesson plan on the spot. And for the next 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, however long it is, from 11 to 4 p.m., we drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. You won't get a certificate from the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. What you will get is access to me, a tremendous community of people who want nothing more than to practice and get better at this stuff, and to get all of your exact sticking points and questions answered. This is the longest running skill building program of its kind. We began it in October of 2010. So this coming October, I think it'll be 12 years that we've been running this program, right? And what we have done is we have videotaped every single session and archived them on the NLP Power website, our private Facebook group, our Diamond and Platinum level YouTube channel. As a member of the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, you get unlimited access for 90 days to every single video in that 10-year archive. Everything from dating and attraction to law of attraction and manifestation, trauma and regression work, how to write copy, how to use hypnotic language, NLP, belief change, Reiki, you name it, accelerated learning, memory retention. You get access to all of it. Stuff that's never seen the light of day on our YouTube channel or in any product or service. You can binge watch it to your heart's content. If after 90 days you don't think it was worth it, just let Stephanie know. We'll remove you from the group. Nothing. If after 90 days you realize that the people are even more amazing than I'm describing, and you really love it, let us know. We'll show you how you can extend your membership and get ongoing access to an amazing community of well over 300 people who all want the same things you want. To do the drills, to get the skills, and have people that they can actually talk to about this stuff. Plus you get the access to me, right? So if you look at everything that you get from that alone, right, you're looking at a $1,597 value, but we're going to give it to you free. Why? Because this is the difference that makes the difference. It's not buying the course by itself that makes you good. It's having people to practice with and getting feedback from that takes you from access to the information, which is what you get when you buy the course, to ownership, which is what you get by actually doing the drills to get the skills. And once you have these skills, it's something no one can ever take away from you. And they will serve you everywhere and every time you choose to use them. But like I said before, you have to have the will to influence. You have to be willing to actually use these skills. And if you have that, you can write your ticket in this life. And I'm going to help you do it. It's a $10,078 value, but we're not stopping there. You're also going to get, because I know a lot of you want to get started fast. You don't want to take 6 months or even 60 days to get good at something. You want to be good now. And that's what this next course will do for you. This is my Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. I have taken the key language patterns from the original system, distilled them down to 2 sets of videos that will install these language patterns in you. You can literally watch these 2 videos, do some drills, and be able to hypnotize people tonight. But not only does it come with the 7 key language patterns, it's going to teach you the 3 magic questions protocol, which allows you to go from stranger to intimacy bordering on love in as little as 20 minutes. It's going to teach you how to do instant and rapid inductions. It's going to teach you how to use hypnotic anchors to get people to go into certain states on demand, and much, much more. It comes with transcripts, it comes with manuals, and it comes with audio and video installations and other materials that will supercharge your learning in the shortest amount of time possible. I'm not sure, but I think it also comes with a couple of mini courses on lie detection. So that's a total of $997 value. We're going to give it to you free if you grab your course before I log off this webinar. Okay? It's really that simple. If you know this will change your life, and you like the first 4 bonuses I talked about, this is just going to make you better faster, right? Total combined value for everything I've talked about so far is $11,075. But we're not done. Last, and certainly not least, for those of you who really want to take your life to the next level, who want to embody these skills at the deepest, most powerful, most profound level possible, for the next 21 people to register today, you are going to get a free VIP ticket to our next Killer Influence Live in 2023, Secrets of Covert Hypnosis Certification Bootcamp. It's a 5-day deep dive into the art and science of covert hypnosis, starting with the universal language or the universal persuasion protocol, and just getting deeper and deeper and deeper so that you can come out of there exuding and embodying these skills. It's going to allow you to systematically get 5 full days, not 4, of hands-on training, how to control your emotional states at will, how to emanate charisma on command, how to make people like, love, and trust you in as little as 20 minutes, sometimes even faster, how to hypnotize people during normal conversations, to read anyone instantly, and much, much more. Everything I talked about and a whole lot more. I am so proud of this course, and I'm amazed every single day how it changes lives. If you're ready to be one of the elite, to move through the world helping people just by talking to them, by getting everything you want, by helping other people get whatever they want, I encourage you to grab this now while it's still available. But it's only available to the next 21 people who grab this offer before I log off the webinar. It's January 24th to the 28th. It will be live in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a $2,250 value. Total value of everything I've talked about today is $13,325. So
Let's just review a little bit, shall we? Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course, $2,479 value. That gets you that's the initial outlay. Weapons of Mass Instruction, $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to throw in, this is actually supposed to say Renegade Reframing. $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 value, absolutely free. 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. It's a $1,597 value, absolutely free. The Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course. And by the way, in case you were wondering, Stealth actually does stand for something. It stands for Strategic Suggestion Through Emotionally Amplified Linguistically Transmitted Hypnosis. So it's the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course. It's a $997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And the cherry on the sundae, the way to absolutely embody all of these skills and take it to the profoundly professional level, the Killer Influence VIP Super Ticket. 5-day certification boot camp, January 24th to the 28th. And this will be in 2023. The dates are wrong, but that's all right. Now let me, while we're on the subject, the total package value is $13,325. You can get it all for just one installment of $997, or you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Go to www.killerinfluence.com/no. Get yours now before they're all gone. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Now, while you're doing that, I want to take a moment, if I could, and just elaborate a little bit on some of the benefits of this VIP Super Ticket that you'll be getting. First and foremost, this ticket doesn't expire. So let's say you grab your package, and for some reason, the boss won't let you off. There's another round of restrictions. The inflation won't let you travel. Whatever. You can use this ticket for another live event, a live Killer Influence event. It does not expire. You have it until you use it. Okay? Let's say you're not planning on going, and then all of a sudden at the last minute, your schedule frees up, the funds become available because you actually used the stuff in your course, but we're sold out. If you have one of these VIP tickets, we will make a space for you. We will find a seat. We will create a seat for you. So even if we're sold out, if you have one of these VIP tickets, you can get in. Let's say that you can't come to a training, or you don't feel like you need the training, but you know somebody else who would benefit from the training. You can gift this ticket to them, and they can come and get trained in person by me. Okay? Let's say 3 months from now, we raise the price of our Killer Influence seminar. It goes from $22.50 to $37.50. Well, you don't pay anything extra. You get to walk right in as if it was $22.50. The price points don't matter. It doesn't matter if we're in Australia. It doesn't matter if we're in the UK. It doesn't matter if we're in Cyprus or any other part of Europe. It doesn't matter what inflation dictates. If you have one of these tickets, you don't pay because you got the ticket. Okay? So again, for the ticket alone, do the math, right? If you want to get in a room with me for 5 solid days and be drilled and skilled until you can embody the most powerful influence and persuasion skills on the planet, this is a no-brainer. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, click the link, pick your chosen method of payment or investment, and just grab it. www.killerinfluence.com/go. One more time with feeling. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Now, while you're doing that, I'm going to give, we're going to take a 7 or 8 minute potty break. So you guys can kind of get the stuff ironed out. When we come back, we are going to circle back to part 1 of our training, and we are going to actually start teaching you more persuasion skills based on what we've taught you. Extra skills that you can start to do based on the ECHO technique, based on the emotional bonding checklist, and we're going to customize the rest of our webinar to the application or applications that you guys most want to learn and practice. Does that sound like a fair trade? Type yes if you think that's fair. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead, take let's take an 8-minute bio break. You guys finish up, finalizing your packages and whatever, and then we're going to come back at 6:01, and we're going to start training and drilling and skilling again. Go get them, guys. All right. Well, I got done with my break a little early, but so what I normally do is when I get back from my break, what I like to do is I like to ask, do you have any questions that I can answer before we get back to the main body of the webinar? Do you have questions about the program? Do you have questions about applications? What questions do you have, if any?
guys are all quiet. Has the webinar been useful so far? Have you learned some powerful things, some useful things? Cool. Cool, excellent. So we got about 2 minutes left on the break. So again, I'm not gonna, excellent. So Royce is asking, would like to learn proximal connection, don't remember the, proxemic influence. Proxemic influence, you have to, all right. Proxemic influence is all about managing and manipulating the spatial relationships between you and another person. However, there is a way to hack it if you're not in the same room, and that is to use the spatial language pattern. You'll learn it in Killer Influence. One of the most powerful 7 language patterns that exist is known as the spatial hypnotic language pattern. And what it does is it causes very vivid 3-dimensional imagery in the minds of the subject. And so if you use the spatial pattern effectively, you can stimulate similar effects as if you were actually standing in a certain relation to the person. That is not what I would consider to be a basic application, but it's possible. So proxemics is best used in the room with the person. But another thing you can do, and this actually goes more towards Zoom calls. Do you mind briefly detailing the Renegade reframing content? In what respect, AB? There are 14 different specific patterns or reframe techniques that you can use to change the meaning, the cause, or the effect of any argument or belief system that somebody presents to you. Some of them involve, to use proxemic words, moving before the actual belief, moving after the belief, moving globally chunking up or chunking down. There's a whole map that we give you that kind of visually represents this, so it's easier to understand. But they're all perspectives, they're all points of view or ways of thinking about things that are different from the way the person who is giving you the belief is thinking about it. And by giving them options, it creates much more flexibility of thought. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and get back to training, if we shall. So here's where it gets fun, okay? Because now you've learned some of the most important principles. A, everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. The fastest way to change another human being's feelings is to change yours first. Okay, these are things we covered verbally at the beginning of the webinar. We said that the most powerful thing you can do to be 30%, up to 30% or more better at everything is to be fun, playful, and curious, and to wrap everything that I'm teaching you in that energy. Now, there is a really powerful phenomenon. Everybody has defenses that go up when they perceive influence. So the more playful and non-threatening and curious you are, the more rapidly you neutralize or turn off those defenses, which makes your job of influence that much easier. It's a body state. You learn it in state control. It's one of the very first things we teach you. But it really is really important. You can pull a lot of these things off without it, but if you had a choice between having it or not having it, I would rather have it, right? And life becomes a lot more fun when you do. So that from there we went to this idea that the most powerful words any human being can hear are the ones that just came out of their mouth, right? And I demoed an actual phone conversation that I've had with many of my martial arts clients, and, I believe it or not, with many of my NLP Power clients when they would call me many years ago before I had a Stephanie. I actually answered my own phone, and I would have conversations just like the one you saw with them and get them salivating to jump into a program or to become a client, because I talked only about the things that were important to them. Remember, if you want to be a master of influence, the more important you make the other person feel,
the more important you become to them. It's a catch-22, but it is true. So from there we went into the emotional bonding or the emotional motivation checklist. I guided you through, I had you think about what is it you want to be able to do as a byproduct of tonight's webinar, right? What do you want to be able to do as a byproduct of tonight's webinar, right? And then I had you write it down, and I asked you to write down another question: what's important about that? And then what's that? And then what's important about that? And then what's important about that? If you have that template and you take it out into the world and you use it, people will tell you exactly what to say and do to make them do whatever you want. It's literally that simple. Okay? Are you guys with me so far? Yes or yes, as T.R. Becker would say. This is the interactive portion of tonight's webinar. Cool. All right. Sheila, I haven't seen you in forever. Right? So from there, from emotional bonding checklist, we transitioned into talking about how to level up, right? So this is where we make this webinar really yours. And here's what I want to know. What do you want to know about today? What, if we have time for one or two techniques, where do you want to focus that time and energy? What do you want to know about the most? Type it in the chat what you know about. Now, normally I give people a choice. I say we can talk more about the echo technique. We can talk more about resistance removal. We can talk more about 3 magic questions protocol. Those are usually the big 3. But if you want to learn about one of those, type it in the chat. If there's something else you want to learn about or a specific context or application you want to learn about, type that in the chat and we'll spend the next hour or so drilling down on it. 3 magic questions, NLP. Okay, NLP is too general. 3 magic questions. Storytelling, magic questions. Think I know where this is going. Resistance, okay, resistance. Storytelling. Reactance, avoidance, okay. 3 magic questions. Storytelling. Ooh, you guys are starting to level me up here. Maybe I'll have Brandon or Stephanie actually hypnotic language patterns. That's a new one, okay. Anything else? Getting rapport against resistance. In our world, getting resistance is futile. We're going to get you one way or the other. Okay, so it looks like the pecking order is going to be 3 magic questions, resistance removal, and then it looks like storytelling and maybe hypnotic language patterns are kind of tied. So I don't know if we'll get to all of it, but all of it is covered in the Killer Influence system. Okay, it's all there. All right, so let's start with 3 magic questions protocol. Now, what is the 3 magic questions protocol? Well, let me start off by asking a question. What if there was a way that you could start a conversation with perfect strangers and in as little as 20 minutes have them liking and connecting and trusting with you, bordering on love? What if it were easy because they were going to do 80% of the talking anyway? Would that affect your life or your social life or your business life in any way, shape, or form? Type yes in the chat if you think that's true. Okay. Now, the 3 magic questions protocol has a really, really interesting history to it. The original inspiration for this particular framework, and 3 magic questions is a code for 3 categories of question. The book that it was derived from was a book called Love Trances by a gentleman named Craig Ravinsky. Okay? Jack's asking, yes, if you can teach to ask. I've taught this to people with Asperger's. I've taught face reading to people with autism and Asperger's, and they became able to read social cues. And their social acuity went up dramatically. So this stuff has massive, massive effects on people. Okay? Three magic. Okay. So again, the YouTubers are finally getting the message. So they're telling me basically 3 magic questions and resistance removal. And Michael, thank you for that comment on how we really take care of our customers. I really, because we think of you as extended family. You know, we treat you how we want to be treated. You know, And so it really is important to us that you feel like you're part of something important and that you matter. So let's talk about 3MQ. 3 Magic Questions started based on a framework found in Love Trances by Craig Ravinsky. I highly recommend that you support Craig's work and buy his book. It should be available on Amazon. Many of the techniques that I teach to the general public, I have versions I teach to the general public, and then behind closed doors, I give you the next level of the stuff, right, for people who've qualified to get that level of information. But so much of that book has been dramatically useful. But one of the things I want to kind of qualify you for is that when I first learned this is embarrassing for me. When I first learned this, I taught it, and I modified it a little bit so men and women could use it. But it was originally designed for women to use on men to do two things at the same time. It was designed to cause men to divulge everything about themselves in a really short amount of time, while at the same time generating tremendous attraction in the other person. And it was designed to help a woman create a personality profile of the person in front of them, and screen out the ones that are the hell no's to the one and sort for the ones that are the hell yes. That's what the original intention of this particular technique was for. When I got a hold of it, I said, well, this is kind of one-sided, so how can I modify it so men and women can use it equally? And I just made a few tweaks to it, and we'll talk about that. And I taught it for attraction purposes. And then in 2015, I was teaching a killer influence class, and for some mysterious reason, like 12 freaking personal injury attorneys descended on my training. And they were all sitting together. Half of them didn't know each other. I called them my legal department because none of them wanted to be on camera. And so I start teaching, and I'm teaching the 3 Magic Questions protocol. Brandon, that's Craig Rovinsky, Rovinsky. So I teach him this 3 Magic Questions protocol. One guy was so into it, he took 80 pages of notes, became one of my most prolific students. And so I teach the class, we go through the 4-day training, they go off into the world to apply their skills. A couple weeks later, I start getting emails. And they're talking about how they used 3 Magic Questions during jury selection. They used it in depositions. They used it on hostile judges. And these people are just falling all over themselves to give them whatever they want. And I'm reading these one case report after case report after case report, and I'm thinking to myself, stupid, 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 stupid. Because I was blind. I didn't connect something I'd been teaching for years. And that was that in my world, all social applications are variations of the romantic archetype. Man and woman, or man and man coming together, or woman and woman coming together to create a family, or a third one. It didn't occur to me that this 3 Magic Questions thing could have applications anywhere but with an attraction. So here's the thing. Even though it was designed and originated in the attraction and pickup world, it's actually it's like kryptonite in any form of networking function, any form of bonding for business or professional purposes. I had one gentleman, one of my personal injury clients, used the 3 Magic Questions and the extended rapport skills and state control skills that you learn in Killer Influence to persuade a expert witness for his opposition to waive his attorney-client privilege to answer my guy's questions. I didn't believe him when he told me, and then he showed me the video. It was crazy, right? This thing creates such powerful connections in people that they won't give you up. And it's an extension of the echo technique. So you're going to be using the echo technique within the 3 Magic Questions protocol. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind, that it's built from this idea. Now, a lot of you are asking about, Brandon says, could I use this in hostage negotiations? Yes, theoretically you could. You'd have to set up the context, but yeah, it's a really good icebreaker. But you'd have to probably set it up a little bit more expertly. But yeah, you could use it for sure. In fact, I am a very famous body language expert who is big on interrogation, has actually used 3 Magic Questions during interrogations and interviews. He told me about that when the camera was off. But anyway, so let's talk about the three levels of question. Any questions about what I've talked about so far? You're all good? Okay, so let me find my, my little sheet here. And let's jump in. So what you have here is my primer on the 3 Magic Questions protocol. First and foremost, it's important to remember that the 3 Magic Questions protocol is a conversational framework. It's not 3 specific questions. It's 3 categories of question. Okay? So again, it says here, 3MQ is a code for 3 categories of question. Each question stimulates a more primal and deeper level of the subject's mind. So it starts with very superficial, very non-threatening types of questions. Okay? It allows the operator to simultaneously attract and analyze the subject to make a qualifying determination as to the subject's suitability or unsuitability for deeper intimacy in relationships or interactions. In other words, it's going to generate attraction, it's going to create comfort and trust, but it's also going to prime this person to give you more and more information so you can decide what to do with them. Okay? So, a couple of things that we want to understand going into this. No matter what level of question you're at, you never ask a question that can be answered with a simple yes or no. Okay? Those questions are off the table. You always ask open-ended questions, questions that require an explanation, an opinion, or a story, right? So if I'm walking into a wedding reception and I see somebody who's attractive that I want to start a conversation with, I don't walk up and say, "Do you like the band?" Why? Or they could say no, or they could say yes, but the conversation's over, right? We never ask a question that can be answered with a simple yes or no. You could walk up to that person and say, "So I'm curious, what do you think of the band? What do you think of the DJ?" Right? It's a question that requires an explanation, an opinion, or a story. Okay? Now, as you go through the different levels of this, what's going to happen is when you ask your question, they are going to answer that question. When it's your turn to talk, you are going to use what we call the master echo sequence. You guys remember I talked about this? For you guys who aren't familiar with the master echo sequence, it starts with ask a question. Pay attention. Hold on a second, I'm going to make this longer. Hold on a second. It's being finicky. Ask a question. Pay attention. Validate the response or validate the answer. Echo the words. Ask another question. This is called the master echo sequence. Okay? If you don't know what to do in a conversation, that's what you do. When in doubt, ask it out. Okay? You ask your question. So I'm curious, what do you think about the band? They answer, well, you know, they kind of remind me of a band that my sister had at her wedding about 10 years ago. It was doing a lot of 80s cover band. Oh, that's so cool. So the band reminds you of a band that was at your sister's wedding that did the 80s cover music. Yeah. I'm curious, what is it? Which songs did they do that you really liked? Right? So if you go back on the replay and you listen to what I did, I asked a question. I paid attention to the response. I found some way to agree or acknowledge or approve of what they said. and then I echoed as many of their words as I could remember, and I asked another question. That's all you really need to do through every level of the 3 magic questions. Now, there's other things that you can do, but this is where it starts, right? Are you guys clear on this? Clear on this so far? Does this make sense, or do you have any kind of confusion about it? Okay. Again, this is one, if you haven't written it down, I would write it down and I would tattoo it on any piece of jewelry that is in line of sight whenever you're going to talk to another human. Because this is pure gold. This makes your job so much easier. And the side effects of it, the byproduct of it, is that you'll be able to remember longer and longer and longer strings of dialogue, which allows you to analyze what they say and connect with them even more deeply. So, let's go to the next piece. It's called the master echo sequence, yes. I usually cover this at the beginning when I teach echo technique, but we treated the echo technique a little bit differently this time around. So I just wanted to make sure that we got this in, because it really does play a fairly big role in any form of interaction going forward. Now, you'll see all these little lines over here that I just erased. When human beings move through the world, they can be in one of 4 distinct states or categories of state. They can be in their head. We call that internal. They can be paying attention to what's going on outside of them. We call that external. They can be associated, which means they can be fully present and in the moment, or they can be dissociated, which means they're not present. They're thinking about something in the future, they're thinking about something in the past. At any given moment, most humans, are moving through the world in a state of internal, they're moving through the world in a state of internal dissociation. What that means is they're in their head thinking about everything but what's going on around them. The sole purpose of level 1 questions is to change that. So the level 1 questions are always about location, occasion, right? These are superficial questions about the venue or the subject's reason for being there or who they're with, right? So you might say, so I'm curious, what brought you out tonight, right? That's a question about why they're here. Oh, I'm with some friends, we're here to watch the band. Oh, cool. Did your friends show up or are you waiting for them, right? It's always superficial, right? Why? Because there's really only one reason to ask these kinds of questions. A is to get them from an internal dissociated state, they're in their head paying attention to everything but you, to an external associated state where they're out of their head and they're in real time paying attention to you. Okay? Another thing you want to do is you want to soften your questions. So you could say, what do you think about the band? Which is an unsoftened way to do it. Or you could say, so I was wondering, what do you think about the band? Right? Notice how putting a pre-frame in front of your question makes it less invasive and less like an interrogation. So you can take, what do you think of the centerpiece? To, I'm curious, what do you think of that centerpiece? Right? Are you guys kind of getting this? Is this making sense? You want to soften everything you do, okay? You don't want what you say to sound anything other than conversational. One of the problems that a lot of people who study neurolinguistic programming have is that NLP is actually too powerful the way they're using it. What that means is, let me change my angle on my camera a little bit. Oops. Okay. What happens is people use an NLP technique or an NLP style language pattern, and the person may not have any clue about NLP, right? But they feel the effect of what you said very, very strongly. This has a visceral impact on them. They don't know what you did. They don't know how you did it. But some part of their neurology realizes you did something, and their defenses come up. The reason that you soften is so that anything you say goes in and it just feels very comfortable, right? It doesn't send off any bells or warnings or red flags. And one of the things that we've found from training people in this kind of influence for years is that when people get stressed out, when they get nervous, when they're not sure about what to do, the first thing that falls out of their language is the softener. So the first thing you want to do is create a list of softeners. Words like, oh, I'm curious, I was wondering, just so I understand you better. Let me ask you this. Just a quick list of 5 to 6 little frames that you can tag onto whatever question you're going to ask that makes it conversational and lubricates the interaction, right? You don't have to do it now, but if you want to use this protocol in the most seamless and organic way possible, then you want to have those softeners in place. But level 1 questions are always location occasion. They're always questions about the venue, why you're there, who you're with. One of my students came to one of my attraction classes. This was probably back in 2017 or 2018. And I was teaching this program. And he went out that night to a local sports bar, walked up to an attractive woman that he thought might be interesting. And the first question I was, no, so I'm curious, what are the drink specials tonight? They got married last year. 2 years ago, I think, they got married. Right? Simple question. Why? What does it do? It gets them out of their head and into the world. And when you approach people, you have to take any kind of carnal agenda off any carnal desires off the menu. Because when you approach a stranger, especially a man approaching a woman, the approach defenses go up. And so being playful, being curious, asking non-threatening, superficial questions is the fastest way to get through those defenses and get the person interacting with you. Okay? But the sole purpose, functionally, for level 1 questions is to get you to level 2 questions. It's to get them out of their head and to be fully present and paying attention to you. Once that's done, you're ready for level 2. What is level 2? Level 2 are open-ended questions that require an explanation, a story, or an opinion about A, careers, passions, or pleasures. Okay? When I first learned the 3 magic questions, what I came to call the 3 magic questions protocol, it only talked about career. And why do we talk about career? Because in the world of neurolinguistic programming, we have these maps of how people work that may or may not be true, but they work, so we use them, right? It doesn't really matter if it's true, but they work, so we use them, right? And one of the maps that NLP teaches us is called the logical levels of belief. And at the very top of this hierarchy of beliefs that people have is the spiritual level, which almost always entails some form of spiritual or religious conversion. That's the level of belief change that we're talking about. And right below that is the identity level. And the identity level is right between spirit and values. When people in our culture, in our society, people are what they do. So if I say, if I ask you, what do you do for a living? The first words out of your mouth almost always start with, I am. I am a therapist. I am a coach. I am a neurolinguistic programmer. I am an accountant. I am a fashion model. I am a football coach. Anytime you hear the words I am, you are hearing a belief. And that belief is at the very pinnacle, the apex of power in that person's world. So when people start talking about their career, they are talking about their favorite subject, themselves. Remember what happened when we did the emotional bonding checklist? Are you guys with me so far? Type in the chat if you're still with me, because I don't want anybody to get lost. Okay, good. So you guys remember in part 1 of the webinar, we talked about the emotional bonding checklist. And what did we say? We said that when people start talking about the things on their checklist, they go into what? A profound pleasure state or state of desire. You guys remember I said that? Yes or yes? Okay. Well, if that's what happens at the values level, what happens when you go to the next level and you talk about their identity? It's even more powerful. Okay? So these people will dish about their life for hours, and they will tell you things they wouldn't tell people they've known 20 years. And they'll tell you things that would make you just immediately disqualify them as a date or a business prospect. And they'll have a smile on their face. They'll have a ball doing it. They'll feel more attracted to you as they do it. That's the byproduct of questions that tag into the identity level, right? So everyone you meet has an idea for a book or a business. So the questions you might ask, well, so I'm curious. I'm curious what you do for a living, right? Or if you know any of Chase Hughes's work, like the elicitation patterns from Jack Schaefer or NCAA guys, you could say, I'll bet you're a fashion model, right? And I can say, no, I'm not a fashion model. I work at Starbucks down the street. Oh, wow, that's cool, Starbucks. So did you just like wake up one day and decide, I'm going to do coffee? I'll bet there's an origin story there. How did you decide to wake up and work at Starbucks? Now, that particular question and the way I approached it is actually how I would do it on the street, right? But there's some things behind it that I want you to understand, and that leads to the other aspects of level 2 question. Remember I said level 1 question, or level 2 question, the way I first learned it was all about career. But I added passion and pleasure for exactly this kind of an example. If you're talking to somebody who works at Starbucks, chances are their life ambition is not to serve you coffee, right? But I guarantee you that they have something that they are absolutely passionate about, that they would talk about and do at the drop of a hat. You want to know what that is. Why? Because you want to use their words to link those feelings to you. So you can ask them what they're passionate about, or you can ask them what they do for fun, what they do for pleasure. So career, passions, pleasures. You may meet somebody who works at Starbucks, but their passion is volunteering at a homeless shelter or a soup kitchen, or working with behaviorally challenged kids, right? That's a passion. And they will talk and talk and talk about those things for hours. All you have to do is what? Type in what you think you have to do. This is the classroom part where David says, how much are you actually paying attention and thinking about what I'm doing? Ask, listen and repeat, echo. Okay. Nobody has yet to type in the master echo sequence, but this is close enough. It's a good start. All you do is ask your question, pay attention, validate the response, echo their words, ask again. And they will run off at the mouth for hours and hours and hours. Don't believe me? Go test it. Okay? Now, here's the best part. The longer they talk, the more attracted and connected and trustworthy to you they become. Now, if you've ever been on a date or out with a friend, there's a phenomenon that happens when your friend tells you a story. Maybe they talk about a great vacation that they went on. The first thing that happens is you start running through your brain looking for a similar experience. Type in the chat true if that's true, if you ever have that experience. Go ahead and type that in. Because some of you are asking about storytelling. I'm going to give you a freaking nuclear power way to supercharge your stories. Now in my world, we call that phenomena analog matching. And it's one of the key areas where most guys screw up a first date. because the woman across from you tells you about this amazing experience that she had, and then you start riffing about all the amazing experiences you had, and you spend so much time talking about your shit, she pretends interest, but is actually wanting to gnaw her arm off to get away. The way you change that dynamic, in any normal conversation, this person's going to tell you a story about something that happened, something that they're passionate about, something in their business life, something in their career life, something that they do for pleasure. Your brain is going to go through its memory banks to find a similar experience. You let them talk. You find your similar experience. And when it's your turn to tell your story, you use their words to tell it. Let me repeat that. When it's time for you to tell your story, you use their words to tell it. So the question here is how to learn how to repeat words without them starting to realize the echo technique or echo sequence. Alex, try to get caught. Try to get caught. But before you try to get caught, embody this attitude. Echoing people is actually the most secretly desirable, organically, biologically, evolutionarily desirable way to communicate with another human being. It actually gives them the feelings that they have been desperate for but didn't know how to get. So if you significantly want to signal to the person that you actually are interested in them, that their opinions and ideas matter, that you approve of them, and you want to generate deeper levels of connection, and you choose not to do it, you're the dickhead now. Are people desperate for it and don't have? Yes, they are desperate for it. Thank you for echoing my words. Yes. But yes, they don't realize that people are desperate for this kind of connection and feeling understood. Okay? And again, in Killer Influence, when you go through the course, you'll see all the different ways that we use this. But here's the thing. The place to come from with this technique is not a trick to use on somebody. It's a methodology that allows you to connect more deeply with a person and signal to them that not only are you paying attention, but that you truly want to understand them. Now, if somebody calls you on echoing their words and you tell them that, and they still have a problem with it, the problem isn't you. Okay? You can use this as a way to trick people, but you don't need to, because this is the most powerful way to get to know another human being in the most desirable way that they can imagine right off the bat. Okay? And so embody this attitude of just wanting to use it to get to know people better and signal validation, and now go out and try to get caught. And let me know how hard you have to work to get caught. Okay? Okay? Hold on a second, there's some really cool things in there. Killer Influence is the best. I've done it twice and it completely transformed my life. Yes! Very cool. Very cool, pizza. Thank you so much for that. All right, so that's level one. Level one is location occasion. Its job is always open-ended, opinion-based questions that get the other person out of their head and into the world with you. The other reason for that is to neutralize their defenses and get them to level two, which is going to happen fairly quickly, to be quite honest. Okay? Once you hit level one, level two questions, what you want to do is you want to ask open-ended, opinion-based, story-promoting questions about what they do, where they think they're going, what they love about what they do, what they hate about what they do, where they see themselves in 5 years, and you just want to use the master echo sequence to pay attention to their words, validate their response, echo their words, and ask another question. And they will cycle and they will riff for hours. Now here's the best part. This works on Zoom. This works over the phone. This works in video. This works in chat. This works in email. This works in any form of texting. Any place human beings are processing language, this works. It's deadly in marketing. All right, so for those of you who do any kind of marketing copy, this is a fast way to zero in on your ideal customers. Okay? All right. Benoit says, thank you, David. I love you. I love you back. Thank you so much. All right. So listen, we're going to talk about level 3 questions in just a minute. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that we have a special program that we put together for you where you can get everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more. It's the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It's a $2,479 program, but we're also going to throw in Weapons of Mass Instruction for $1,997. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you Renegade Reframing, the Art of Conversational Belief Change. It's a $1,997. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to give you Charisma and Conversion, $1,997, absolutely free. We're going to give you the 3-month trial membership and the 11-year video archive to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. It's a $1,597 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value. Download it tonight, hypnotize people tomorrow or even sooner. We're going to give that to you free. And of course, that special VIP super ticket to our next Killer Influence Live 5-day covert hypnosis certification boot camp live in Las Vegas, January 24th to January 28th, 2023. I apologize for the typo there. It's January 28th, 2023. Total package value is $13,325. You can get it all for one teeny installment of $997. And if you need a little extra help, we can actually give you a payment plan. We can help you break that down into 3 easy installments of just $397. Ladies and gentlemen, there has never been an easier, more powerful, faster, more bulletproof way to get everything you want from the social life, from your business life, from any place where human beings need to do what you want them to do, including yourself, your friends, your family. This material has changed the course of my life. It has changed the course of literally thousands of other people's lives. There is nothing better on the planet, and it will change your life. And you have 60 days to put this stuff into practice, to play with it. And if after 60 days it's not delivering, pick up the phone, send us an email. We'll make it right for you. We'll either refund you, or we'll walk you through the sticking points, or we'll make sure you get the help that you need to make this work. Okay? You have absolutely nothing to risk. All you need to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Don't wait. Okay? Half of these bonuses disappear when I log off this call. So please, if any of the things I've talked about resonate with you, please click that link, get your course, get one of those few remaining VIP tickets, and let's do this. Let's get together and party and play and become as powerful as humanly possible. Stephanie says there's only a couple left. Oh, okay. When would now be a good time to do that? Anyway, while you're doing that, reach out to Stephanie. She will tell you exactly how to access your course. Do you have any questions about 3 Magic Questions protocol up to this point that we've covered? I know the YouTubers, they have a little bit of a lag, so I may have to circle back and help them. Oops. So Blute says, what if you want to get something out of them? Don't they become cold as soon as you stop using the technique and stop giving them? Not if you're using the emotional bonding, Blute. I don't know if you were here when we talked about the emotional bonding checklist. But no, again, unless you're going to be narcissistic and just cut them off, you're going to make, the idea is to build healthy, happy, long-term relationships. So the idea is they get what they want by doing what you want. So there's always a win-win. They don't get cold at all. They get excited because they feel gratified that you actually shared something with them. So Stephanie is saying the operations team will add the courses to your account. If you do not have an account, one will be created for you. Tomorrow, midday Pacific time, I will send out a welcome email with a bunch of information for you regarding the live class and membership. And if that's not enough, harass Stephanie on the phone and call her at 858-282-4663. because we love her and we want everybody to know how awesome she is. She is my administrative goddess. I couldn't find my feet with my hands with both feet, my feet with both hands without her. And of course, our amazing techno dude, Brandon the Burr, is out there pretending to be me on our YouTube channel. So I'm actually on my YouTube channel, but anyway. So any other questions regarding Rich Gaffin is asking, is that considered attentive listening? Echo technique is actually the most attentive listening that you can do. It covers the most amount of bases with the least amount of possibility of failure. In fact, if you were in an NLP class, this one technique would actually cover 7 different distinct processes that NLP teaches its practitioners to do individually. It is such a powerful shortcut that one of my friends, the late James C2, actually hated this technique because it was so powerful and it was too simple. And that's, again, one of the biases that you'll see a lot of times in some of the more linguistically heavy applications is they tend to think of advanced techniques as being more complicated. That's not how I judge an advanced technique in my world. An advanced technology should make your life easier, not harder. It should be easier to use, not harder. So as far as I'm concerned, your version of the Echo technique and the 3 magic questions that you're using is actually a more advanced version of NLP. It's a better version of NLP because it's more user-friendly, it does more with less energy, and it's more reliable and consistent. Okay? So, but don't believe me. Don't take my word for it. Just do it. Go out into the world, find humans in their natural habitat, echo their words, and do a 3MQ process with them. Now, we're going to segue now into level 3 of the 3 magic questions protocol. Before I do, I want to give you a few more caveats to pay attention to. For most relationships, it is never actually necessary to move beyond level 2. However, if this person that you're using this process with has passed all of your tests and you feel that this person is worthy to hold a more intimate, dominant place in your world, then segue to level 3 questions. And the reason for that is that if you move people into level 3 questions, they will bond with you very, very powerfully. And if you don't vet them carefully, you can wind up with a stalker. Or you could wind up with somebody in an intimate part of your life that has no business being there. Okay? So remember, that's 3 magic questions has a dual purpose. Whether you're man or woman, regardless of who you're using it with. A, to prime people to become attracted, connected, and trusting of you. But at the same time, priming them to divulge more and more and more information that allows you to decide where they deserve to be in your life. Always be testing. You understand me? The purpose of 3MQ is to screen and profile the person in front of you. If at any time you lose sight of that, you run the risk of A, generating a very intense relationship with somebody you shouldn't have generated that level of intensity with. And B, if they have any kind of weird quirks, you may wind up being a therapist instead of a partner. Or a victim in many cases, right? When we use 3 magic questions protocol, we no longer date people or enter into relationships with people, and it could be a professional relationship with somebody who has potential. We only work with people who are actualizing their potential. Are we kind of clear on that? Type yes so I know you're with me. Okay, good. Now, level 3 questions. If the person has passed all of your tests, you feel a connection, you feel this person is trustworthy, the next level of question is always about, write this down, early positive childhood experiences. Early positive childhood experiences. Okay? Now, it may be as simple as, wow, you have a really interesting accent. I'm curious. Where did you grow up? Who are your friends? What did you like to play at when you were a kid? Right? Now, the idea here is you want them to access the earliest, most positive childhood experience possible. The reason for that is, how many of you have ever met somebody, and even though you've just met them, you feel like you've known them your entire life? It's like some part of you from deep inside reaches out and recognizes something about this person that makes it feel like you've always known them, like they've always been a part of your world. How many of you have ever had that experience? Type it in the chat. Okay. Alex says yes. Jennifer says yes. Philip says yes. Yeah. Okay. Some of the earliest, some of the most powerful foundational memories that a human being has are their earlier memories, their childhood memories. So when you, nope, avoid it like the plague. Well, avoiding it like the plague means you recognized it so you could avoid it. So that tells me a little bit more about you, Jack, right? But anyway, too much responsibility, yeah. So here's the thing. The further back in a person's memory you go, the more malleable their personality becomes. The early memories create the platform and the foundation and the direction of subsequent personality traits and memories. When you ask somebody about their earliest positive childhood memories, if they don't have any, run. Yes, that's absolutely true, Jennifer, 100%. We'll get to that in a minute. What literally happens is they go back on the wings of time, they find a memory, they open that memory up, and they start re-experiencing and reliving the memory as they're telling you about it. As they do that, all the feelings that they had, including the sense of time passing, come up too. Now, who are they looking at? Who are they looking at when they're re-experiencing and reliving all of these things? Type it in the chat. Who are they looking at? Come out of trend. Me. me, right? Exactly. They're looking at you. Guess who all those feelings get linked to? You guessed it. You. Now, here's the hack. Not only do the positive feelings that they're experiencing get linked to you, you literally get inserted into that memory. And that sense of time, let's say they're experiencing a memory that happened 30 years ago. Well, all of a sudden you get associated with that 30-year-old memory. And now they feel like they've known you since that memory was created. You instantly hack that sense of timeless connection that people move through the world looking for, or in Jack's case, running away from. Yes, it's called pseudo-orientation in time or conversational age regression. Now, just like level 2 questions, they're going to tell you a story. Guess what you do? Type it in the chat what you think you do. You got it. You echo, you listen, you validate, you echo, you ask again. When it comes time for you to share a story, you use their words to tell it. Use their words to tell your story, and then ask them another question so they can tell you another story. It's the same process. Yes, Jennifer, so if their childhood sucked, you're now linked to it. But you know what? If you ask, now here's the thing, always be testing. And one of the things you test for, does the person actually follow your instructions? If you ask about an early positive childhood experience, and they tell you about their Uncle Jack took him out back behind the barn to show him a special kind of wrestling that involved Vaseline and cutlery. Warning, right? For two reasons. A, they obviously got some quirks that you don't want to know about. B, they didn't follow instructions. Okay? That's a therapeutic, codependent, narcissistic, or aggressive relationship waiting to happen. So one of the things that you're always testing for is, do they actually give you the information that you ask for? Yes, that would be the eject button, right? Because again, if you proceed with that level 3 questions, you're going to create a very powerful, very intimate relationship that that person is going to fight to keep. And you will fight to get out of. So unless the purpose behind your communication is to be their therapist or their caregiver, get the fuck out. Right? Again, the idea behind these tools is to give you the information so that you can make the right decision based on data, not on the state you're in at the time, because you will feel attraction. Because again, you have rapport and connections flowing both ways, but that connection needs to be managed, and it better be being managed by you. Because if it's being managed by the other person, you're probably going to wind up in a place you don't want to be in, unless you get really lucky. Okay? Does that make sense? Hold on a second here, let me see this. So Alex is asking, I've seen videos from you about 3 magic questions, but I'm struggling to learn how to do it properly, especially for the 3rd stage. Most of the time it's hard for me to relate to their memories and find a proper question echo to respond. Just do it verbatim. Some people seem like they don't want to access their memories or they can't due to traumas. Again, what's the purpose of your conversation? If you're there in a dating context and they start bringing up traumatic memories or relationships that went south, they're not following your instructions. That should be a flag, right? Remember, in Killer Influence, and you'll learn about this a lot, we divide the segments of training into 3 basic areas. You have I1, I2, and I3. I1 is all about identity. It's all about who you are as a person, what your values are, what your ethics are, what attributes and skill sets you have that make you more powerful as a persuader, and what aspects and attributes you have that actually limit you. It's about taking an inventory about how you perceive yourself, how you want to perceive yourself, how other people perceive you, and how you want to be perceived, and making those all fit. That's level 1. That's I1. You'll learn about that in Killer Influence. Level 2 is all about intelligence gathering. In other words, how much information can you acquire about the target of your influence? Because the more precise information you have, the easier your job is. But you can't lose sight of, who am I talking to, what's my outcome, and who do I need to be to get this person to do what I want them to do. Right? And if the person in front of you is demonstrably not the kind of person you want for the role you need them to fill, you need to eject and find somebody more suitable. Okay? You can, theoretically, get anybody to do pretty much anything you want. The problem is the baggage that comes with it may not be worth the investment. Your job is to eliminate baggage. Nobody logged on to this webinar to get more randomness and less control in their life. True or not true? I would go out on a limb here. Type in the chat if this is true. Most of you logged on to this webinar to get more control and influence over your life. True or not true? Beth Holly says, well, I certainly could have used this information 3 years ago. Ironically, and as crass as it might sound, Beth, you probably weren't ready. My experience has been people come to this information when they're actually ready for it, not when they wish they would have had it. You know, if I had $1 for every time somebody said, I wish I'd had this 30 years ago, I'd be in an entirely different tax bracket. But the truth is that we just weren't ready for it, for whatever reason. We just weren't. When you come to it is when you're ready for it. but you have to decide you deserve it. You're worthy of it, right? And that means click the links, get the last few remaining courses, and join me for the live. And get on the phone with us, and let's play in the masterminds and do all kinds of cool things. While we're on that note, let me do this really quick. One last reminder. Jennifer says, I'm worthy. I agree with you. Click the link. Once again, just as a quick reminder, Secrets of Human Influence home study course, $2,479 value, has the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol, the weapons of mass instruction, hypnotic storytelling secrets, $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you free. Renegade Reframing and the Art of Conversational Belief Change, $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you free. Charisma and Conversion Hypnotic Presentation Skills for Presenters and Public Speakers, $1,997 value. Once again, free to you. The NLP Power 3-month trial membership with the 11-year video archive, $1,597 value, absolutely free. The Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value, absolutely free. And the free VIP super ticket to the next Killer Influence Live 5-day Covert Hypnosis Bootcamp, January 24th to the 28th in 2023, live in Las Vegas, Nevada, $2,250 value. It does not expire. If the price goes up, you pay nothing. You can gift it, you can keep it, you can hold it until the cows come home and show up when you're ready. It's absolutely free. Total package value goes away when I log off, $13,325 value. You can get it all for one teeny investment of just $997, and if you need extra help, we can break that up for you into 3 easy installments of $397. All you need to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. www.killerinfluence.com/go. If you know you deserve it, if you're ready for a change, let me help you help yourself. Okay? Help me help you. Okay? All right, let's jump back to 3 magic questions. Any other questions about the 3 magic questions protocol? Please, if you have any questions, let Stephanie know. Ring the phone off the hook, email her out the ass. She loves to answer questions. Just don't waste your time. Alex says, last question, if they don't follow your instructions, what should we do? Leave, or again, thank you for explaining it. Again, here's the thing. Don't be an ass. All right? Remember, if you've gotten to that level 3 question, if you're ready to segue into level 3 questions, this person has already passed a lot of your tests. So at this point, you need to make a command decision. Where does this person fit in my life? And here's how I look at it, right? If you think of the continuum of, out here is the hell no people, right? Then you have acquaintances, then you have superficial friends, and then you have everyday run-of-the-mill friends, and then you have your inner circle of friends, and then you have besties, right? And then you have friends with benefits, and then maybe you have boyfriends or girlfriends, right? And maybe that you have a fiance, and maybe then a life partner. So if you think about all these different places where you could slot them, where are you most comfortable keeping them? Right? You finish the day, you finish the night maintaining whatever boundaries you've set, and you just explain where you're at. Right? Now you could do what a lot of people do, is have a bailout phone call, like, 45 minutes into the conversation, your phone rings, and goes, oh my God, I'm sorry, I have to go. My parakeet's having an existential crisis. I need to get home before he molts all over everything. I'm so terribly sorry. We'll do this again sometime. Email me, right? And you're gone. You could do that. But I just recommend you keep it cordial. Keep it social. And just maintain your boundaries. Now, some people have wishy-washy boundaries. And if that's the case, there's another course that you need to get. It's called Identity by Design or Self-Mastery Supercharger, which is all about transforming that inner game. The state control training and Killer Influence will go a tremendous way towards making you like a moth to a flame and being able to function in any environment. But at the end of the day, when you have to confront somebody, you need to bolster your sense of identity and boundaries. And for that, you need identity work. Eileen Carey says, I went to my live training just last week, and I have to say, it truly changed my life. Sounds too good to be true, but being immersed and doing the practice drills makes all the difference. But like David said, you have to be in a place where you believe you deserve it. And it starts by taking action. If you found your way to this webinar, the universe is sending you a message. It's up to you how you choose to interpret it, right? I'm just a messenger. I'm showing you a path. Are you ready to walk it? If you are, click the link. We'll get going. Okay? Anyway, that being said, in the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it comes the time we have to say so long. Listen, if you're ready to level up, I'm ready to help. Click that link. Go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Call Stephanie at 858-282-4663 or email her directly at stephanie@nlppower.com. This is your chance. Let's make it happen. I hope you had a good time. Good night. And God bless. Take care.